G'day, folks, and welcome to the Vookcast, Australia's Nintendo podcast. My name's Oliver Brandt, and in this episode, I'm joined by Angelo Valdivia,
Hey, paisanos.
Michael Goncalves,
Hey, team.
and Luke Henderson.
Hello there.
We're going to jump right into it. Everybody knows why we're here. You know why we're here. The big news that happened is that Nintendo finally showed off the Switch 2 in all of its glory.
All of its 4K glory.
All of its 4K glory.
Spoilers. I haven't watched the video yet. God.
So yeah, we'll jump right into the main news here, which is that the Switch 2 will release on June 5, and it will cost $699.95 in Australia. So yeah, that's just for the console. It can be $769.95 if you want the console and Mario Kart World as a download code. And we're actually have a pretty good price on this compared to most of the world. So the UK price, which is usually what our consoles are converted from, would come out to about 840 Australian dollars. The US price converts into about 740 Australian dollars. The Japan price converts basically to what we got, but they do have a Japan only model that is much cheaper. Yeah, so it has 4K, it has a 120 hertz display that has HDR, and yeah, super nice. Yeah, it seems like a pretty good piece of kit. Just gonna open it up for anyone to give their thoughts.
I just want to jump in because I am nothing if not a petty man. And I remember bringing up on a previous podcast that I thought that the Switch 2 would have like 90 hertz refresh rate. And I'm pretty sure there was a certain Oliver Brandt who was like, no, we don't need that, etc., etc. And now we get 120
no, I didn't
hertz.
say we didn't need it. Like, I would 100%, like a high refresh rate or a variable refresh rate. Like, variable refresh rate is way more important.
Luke, roll the tape.
High refresh rate.
In post, roll the tape. I'll only hear that.
I have always been a proponent of VRR. I think that is like a really big thing, and part of that is having a higher refresh rate. I'm glad that it's it. I don't think most games will get anywhere above.
No, God, no, absolutely not.
But yeah, having the 120 hertz screen, really good.
Well, but let's just lay it out at the moment that the only game that we know of, I think, that officially uses 120 hertz or 120 FPS frame rates is Metroid Prime at 1080p at the moment, which I think I would probably take that over 4K, just to experience that and really feel how I'm getting ahead of myself. How to use how the mouse control works with that. See what the latency is like on that bad boy. But yeah, sorry, go on.
So that announcement was my favorite part of the night. Not necessarily because of the announcement, just because literally as it happened, my first message in Discord was Luke saying, "Calm down, Michael," in all caps. Just like completely like nailing me on how I was reacting.
Well, see, so I was up late that night watching it as well in bed though, and my partner was watching as well because I had the TV on pretty loud and she just couldn't sleep. And I had my laptop next to me with Discord open. And when the announcement came with Kirby's Air Riders, I just saw the trailer sort of like showing the star falling, and I'm like, oh, that's a Kirby game. And then Kirby landing on it, starting to fly. And I'm like, oh my god, this is a Kirby Air Rider game, or Kirby Air Riders, or whatever it's called game. And I quickly posted that in the Discord, and I'm like, Kate, watch, Mark was about to lose his goddamn mind. Without fail, 10 seconds later, you're just like, oh my god, so good.
I think I said immediately after that, I don't believe we got a Kirby Air Ride before F-Zero.
Yeah.
Like, just what universe are we in?
Could only pick one.
But yeah, the HDR 120 hertz VRR display, very welcome. I think I said it in one of the previous podcasts that like that to me would be like a willing trade-off for OLED if they had like all the tech. And like, would I prefer if it had OLED and all those features? 100%. That would be better, quote unquote. But I'll take this. And by all accounts that I've seen, it seems to be a pretty good LCD display. It's not like the OG Switch LCD display, which is awful.
Yeah. But also, like
So I guess we'll see.
an OLED screen would have just bumped the price up just that little bit higher,
Yeah.
right? Which was probably closer to like 730, 740 here, which is
Yeah, it definitely would
at
have.
700. While sure we get a better deal, it's still
Yeah.
a bit of a sting considering it's.
But it's
almost the same
trade-offs as
price.
well, right? So like you would have got a higher price, obviously, but better quality, but also would have got better battery life. So yeah, I don't know.
Well,
But I'll take it.
that's not
Yeah,
necessarily the case, just because the displays that they're using are from Sharp, which use like an exo backplane.
Yeah, the
which
exo
has
panel,
very
yeah.
very low battery usage, so it won't be much more battery intensive than an OLED. But I think the other thing, right, is that like an 8-inch 1080p, like 120 hertz OLED, like doesn't really exist. Like that's not something that you can order from a manufacturer right now. So Nintendo would have to work with a partner to tool that piece out, and like that is probably going to add even more to the cost.
After the Switch one, I generally would have been amazed if basically the entirety of the Switch 2 isn't custom. Like the Switch 1 was the opposite of that. Like everything seemed reasonably off the shelf, and I think the Switch 2 is very much Nintendo has decided on exactly what it wants, and it's just ordered everything. And they've definitely got the pull for that.
Also, HDR does by existence like draw more power, and plus it's a resolution at 1080p that's pretty much double what 720p output, so it's putting out more display power as well. So it's going to naturally just, it's a trade-off that we'll just have to bite, I think, and I'll be fine with that personally. I think
it's got basically like OG Switch battery life, right? Like pretty much around that. Like not exactly
2 hours to 6.5, which like is the original was like 2.5 hours to 6 hours, so it's like it's a little bit more variable depending on the game, which makes sense.
For sure.
When you're talking about like such a hardware disparity, like the kinds of games that will use all of that hardware and the kind of games that will use a fraction of it are such wider than like on the Switch one, where the games that are using the top end of the hardware and the games that are using the bottom end of the hardware are still pretty close in comparison.
But it was nice that all the stuff that seems to be all the first party stuff anyway seemed to be in reasonably high resolution. It seemed to be in high frame rate. Like everything looked like it was nice.
That's the thing, Michael, is that like you said that all you want is something that can play Nintendo games at 60
100%.
FPS, and we haven't seen a single first party game running on Switch 2 hardware that runs below 60 FPS. Like
I think my exact quote was like, all I want is for the games to run like made for the hardware. So like if it's got a 1080p panel and it runs at 60 hertz or whatever, I want it to do that. Like that's, I think, not an unreasonable ask. And I think that's what we're getting, which great.
Yeah.
Good.
And like in the case of like Metroid Prime 4, like you can in handheld mode, like you can go 120 hertz, 120 FPS at 720p, which is still pretty damn good. Or 1080p at 60, which is amazing. But it's looking like really good hardware. Like I think I don't have any major complaints about it. The mouse con is cool. I don't think we have a specific story for the mouse con, but it's a mouse. It's a mouse. It's exactly what we thought it would be.
I'm intrigued to see the options that come along with MouseCon. Like, sorry, or it's options. I mean, like inside of a game, is it going to allow you to set sensitivity, all that type of stuff, right? And really fine tune. I'm assuming they will. Like, I don't know. It would be weird if they didn't. But I think for something like a mouse, it's definitely required because definitely people have different requirements when it comes to using a mouse, especially from the sensitivity side.
And from an ergonomics point of view as well. I mean, we've got so many different mice with different shapes for different people's hand comfortabilities. And I'm looking at the way that people have to hold the mouse con at some points. Like for Metroid Prime, for example, the way your thumb has to hook right back to reach those D-pad buttons, like or whatever the other face buttons. Like that just looks really uncomfortable. Whereas like for 5-10 minutes, sure, it's a bit of a novelty, but I don't know if I'd be playing it like that for prolonged periods of time. Not to mention that I mostly game at my couch, and which means that I have to find a way to sort of like still sit at my couch and have somewhere to put that mouse con anyways. So
they did say that mouse con will work on your legs.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't imagine trying to play a first-person shooter on my
I mean,
my legs are chunky, but they're not that chunky.
I'd sort of be amazed if it didn't though. Like mice have worked on like basically any surface for like 25 years. But it's more. Have we heard anything from Nintendo about if third-party mice will work on Switch? I assume we haven't yet.
So.
We haven't, but the Switch one does actually support mouse input. There are a couple games that do support it, so I can't imagine this is going to be any different. Whether or not that mouse input is going to translate to like is it a Switch
Does it come
mouse?
again? Yeah, mouse con.
Yeah,
Is it? Yeah.
right.
Does it work like a mouse con? Yeah.
That's the big question, I think, more than like does it support mouses in general.
I think the
But
biggest
I
way.
think like
Or in like 3.5 years' time, there'll just be a firmware update and be like, now you can use any mouse you want. Which is like, where did that come from? Sure. Just like with the Bluetooth.
Well, I think
And we also added folders.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I think like I don't know, like the problem with like just using a standard mouse now is that like a lot of the games that we've seen have been like, oh, you can switch between mouse and, you know, using the face buttons or like using motion controls or whatever on the fly, and it's like, well, you can't do that with a regular mouse, so how is that going to work? I think that will be something that we're going to see more from third parties. Like a standard mouse is probably going to be way better to use.
I give it 6 weeks after launch that Hori will announce a new mouse shaped, like a standard computer mouse shaped Joy-Con 2 will be coming out, because if you remember, they did that with the left Joy-Con on Switch 1. They came out with a regular D-pad. Quality there, it wasn't great, but you know, they were like, oh, people want this stuff, so we'll make one. So yeah, I think we'll see a mouse from them soon.
I think the biggest issue with using this like a normal computer mouse is they don't really have, most mice don't really have anywhere near the amount of buttons that the Switch controller has. So
unless you're Razer,
might
you
lose
have
functionality.
17
Yeah,
buttons for no reason.
There's that Razer mouse, the MMO mouse that has like 400 buttons on the side, so that's probably okay.
Yeah. But no, yeah, as I said, in terms of hardware, like I can't really find any faults for it. Like it looks good. It has that extra USB-C port on the top, which means that like my biggest just like small annoyance with the Switch One, right, is just that like the USB port is on the bottom, which like when you're like trying to like play Switch in bed or whatever, right, like the cable is just like kind of like in the way. It gets annoying, right? It's not a big thing. It's like, this is frustrating, and like just being able to plug it into the top is such a big change. Like that's great, and we know that it will charge at full rate on the top port and the bottom port. So
even Nintendo's official solution for bottom charging when you want to use it in tabletop mode was that weird little stand. It was all like 3 centimeters wide. That thing had no stability. You pop your Switch in it, and then slide a bump to the Switch, and the Switch would just start rocking back and forth because that thing was useless. So yeah, they fixed a problem to something that they created. So I'm happy for that. The only issue that I have with it is the size of the storage on board. I think 256 gig is a little, and I know this is going to sound like, you know, whiny first world problems, but it's too small. Like
there's more complaints coming, so feel free.
But I just think it needed to be 512, just purely because like Cyberpunk is coming on a 64 gig card, which is great. It's only running at 40 frames though, so you know, temper expectations. But you know, if that game's coming out on a 64 gig card with all its content, what other games are coming that are 64 gigs, right? And yeah, sure, you can buy it physically, but if I download Cyberpunk, that takes up a quarter of my storage. I get 2 or 3 games that size and I'm out. And it's like, I get why they've done it because it's cost effective, but at the same time, it's like, this is when you do a 256 gig model and a 512 gig model and let people pay the extra for the extra storage if they want to. I just think that's my personal gripe.
But that's the point of the SD cards, though. Like, that's the choice right there. And it'd be cheaper to do that than to buy a console that has the larger internal storage in that case.
100%.
So, I mean, that's the choice they're giving you at that point.
But it's the same with Mac. You can buy a MacBook that has one storage limit and one for an extra few $100 has more, or you can just buy an external hard drive. So there are always ways around it. But it's like
but
just having that option.
But the downside to that, though, is you have to actually carry around this chunky thing that has to plug into your laptop. It's like my MacBook is the 256 gig one, and I constantly have to like delete stuff to make room for that. And at the same time, I'm just like, oh, I could have gotten the one that's double the storage, but instead I just carry around a little flash drive that's like a terabyte anyways. But yeah, it is really, really annoying in that regard. But at least like with the Switch, like it's just a card that goes in your system, and then you don't have to think about it ever again until you want to upgrade again. But personally, like I don't think it's a huge. Like, I get what you're saying for some of the bigger games. Like something like Cyberpunk could potentially be a bit of an issue. But a lot of the other games that are coming out, like I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem. Like you can fit both Zeldas on there comfortably, plus the new Donkey Kong, plus Mario Kart. Plus like a whole bunch of your old Switch games and a whole bunch of indies, and you probably only take up like half the space in that case.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to see how. Obviously, we're dealing with like release stuff at the moment, so I guess we'll just have to see like what size of games are going to be in the future, which I think they're probably going to be pretty large. I think the main I think there's two things, right? With the Switch One, right? Obviously, the hardware limitations of what you really need on there, plus if you wanted to release it physically, you had to have that storage capacity on a card, right? Unless you have a download code. We're skipping a little bit ahead here, I guess, on stories, but like a lot of that limitation is now gone with the game key side of thing, right? So I think people are going to be a little bit more loosey-goosey when it comes to game sizes. They're just going to be like, well, it's not really that important anymore.
Yeah. I think developers can take that. So what we kind of know from like hardware leaks and stuff is that like there is like a custom compression block within the processor. So I think that is why we can see like some of Nintendo's games are still like really, really lean. The fact that like Kirby has like a whole bunch of new stuff and is actually smaller than it was on Switch One is kind of wild. And that's probably just because of the compression that they were able to do and like decompressing that rapidly on the fly. And there's like Nvidia's DLSS that will help keep some assets kind of on the lower side of things as well. So I think for the first couple years we're probably going to see some like real thick games. After that, when developers get more comfortable with the hardware that's on offer and come up with better solutions for it, I think we're probably going to see some games like start trimming down a bit. But it is going to be a rough couple first years, especially because micro SD Express is so expensive as it is right now. Although,
I will say
the first time ever
amazed that it's actually there. I generally wasn't expecting it to just be immediately available and people can get it. I thought it was going to be an absolute shit show. And I guess it is in the sense that really there's only literally one brand, one size of card available in Australia. But other than that, like I'm impressed that it's there. Yeah.
But it's also cheaper. Like the Nintendo micro SD Express card is cheaper than any commercially available micro SD Express to date.
I laughed. I was at EB the day after all this came out, and they had on the shelf, they had a SanDisk 256 gig SD card, micro SD card for Switch One for $89.95, and I went, I'm pretty sure the new one's $79.95, and it is. It's $10 cheaper to get the micro SD Express than it is to get the standard micro SD card. So
I read in one of the interviews, I can't remember if it was one of the Ask the Developer ones or if it was one that they just said on Treehouse in one of their interviews with the hardware engineers. It was something along the lines of one of the reasons, like there's a whole wealth of reasons why they're relying on DLSS and things like that to make games look better and upscaling stuff, but apparently one of those reasons is also because it allows them to have smaller file sizes and require less detail in their assets because it'll be upscaled and performing with DLSS in mind anyways. So that kind of like helps counterbalance some of that file size issue. Granted, it's probably only going to be marginal, like maybe like a couple hundred megabytes, but every little bit counts, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I just checked the storage size for Cyberpunk on PC, like my download of it on my PC, and it's like 89 gigs. So we're saving like, just on Switch, it's 20 gigs, which really doesn't seem like a lot considering the game is probably not using anywhere near the texture asset sizes that the PC version has. Yeah. So it's intriguing.
But as I said, like there are so few complaints about the hardware. I mean, there's more hardware stuff that we'll talk about when we get to the C button.
If we're still talking about hardware, just the two very, very small things that I have complaints about, and it's not to do with performance, it's to do with just the system design itself. So again, in one of the, I think it was a Treehouse interview, one of the designers was saying they didn't go so far as to say that it had Hall effect sticks in it. That hasn't been confirmed at all, but all they said is that they've worked to make the sticks a lot more durable and a lot more smoother, particularly the ones in the Pro Controller. I remember with my Pro Controller, it almost felt like there was a bit of a texture when you sort of move the sticks, almost like kind of sandpapery, and you can sort of hear the sticks moving. Apparently, in this regard, they're like smooth, glidey ones. They have like a weird, funny term that they call it in-house. But yeah, they didn't go so far as to confirm that there's any Hall effect stuff in there, which still gives me a little bit of a concern. It's like, okay, cool. So that means we might not feel drift in the next year or two, but in 5 years, who knows? And the other thing is still that kickstand at the back. I'm still a little bit skeptical of that one with it being U-shaped. I can totally see the center of that cracking and getting a split in it, and then suddenly you have two kickstands.
Do we know what it's made of? Like the chassis? Is it like the OLED? It's the magnesium alloy, or is it plastic like the original Switch?
I have no idea.
I
I've never
don't
seen
recall
plastic.
seeing anything, but I haven't.
Yeah, I've not heard anything about it either.
But look, because I've been staring at these images a lot in the last few days, it does look to be a little more like the OLED than just straight plastic. But
It does, yeah. The texture on it look like the OLED, but I've just not heard anything about it. And I meant to ask Daniel before he got on his 400-hour flight back from New York, and that didn't happen.
He's just like talking in the books. Like,
is he back?
And come back with an answer if he comes up with something.
No, he's somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. He's on his way back on the plane.
All right. Well, I mean, he's got an internet connection, so if he replies in the next like 3.5
Technology.
hours,
Get him on
while
the show.
talking about this.
Get him on the show.
I think this is this is such this is going to be a first world problem complaint, but I think it's just a dumb design choice. I don't like that off the bat that the camera connects to the top USB port when docked. I feel like if you're coming out with a first party camera accessory and it's available immediately, you should have designed the dock to be able to plug into it.
One USB-A, one USB-C. That would have all they needed to do.
I think it's just really dumb. Immediately, the top port is occupied by the camera. Like, that's it.
Yep.
Again, I can see that being a firmware update in 4 years' time. Just being
I mean,
like,
you can
oh,
just get an adapter. That's totally
like
fine.
USB-C to
Just get
USB-A.
Yeah.
Well, this is the whole thing, right? It depends on what speed the camera needs. I don't know what the USB is on the side of the
dock is USB 2.0,
dock.
but the camera is also USB 2.0, so I can't imagine.
Oh yeah, okay, I didn't know that. Like, was that announced somewhere? I've got no idea.
Well, because Hori's one is USB 2.0 and it's officially licensed, so
Right, okay.
the camera can't really be any better than that. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be a big issue.
that Hori one. I kind of want the Hori one.
The Hori one
I
is
want
amazing.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, that is actually an incredibly great design choice. The piranha plant, and then you can close it to actually shut off.
You can close the mouth to get
camera
it.
visibility.
Yeah.
It's so good.
If that is the case, obviously adapter's fine, but I still think that it should have slammed a USB-C port on the side of that dock.
For sure. It's weird that there isn't a USB-C port on the side of the dock, but I guess there's not really like much use for it outside of the camera.
Outside of the single. Once again, I'm going to say this: they designed it. They can choose how it is.
Yeah, but they also designed a port specifically for it, you know. Yeah, I've asked Daniel to see if it's metal or plastic, so I guess we'll see. Yeah. All right, let's talk about some games. We'll get back to hardware in a little bit because there's some software/hardware integration that.
I just assume this is not really going to be a very linear podcast. So.
No, we'll be jumping around a lot. So we finally got a good look at the next Mario Kart game. Nintendo refusing to answer whether or not this is Mario Kart 9 or Mario Kart 10 by just calling it Mario Kart World.
I think they've straight up confirmed that World Tour is Mario Kart 9.
Mario Kart 9, yeah. So, you know, sure. So yeah, Mario Kart World. There's 24 players on a track at the same time, which is very cool. There's a whole bunch of new playable characters. I love so much that they were like, nah, absolutely fuck the idea of Smash Kart. We're just gonna add the cow and like fish bones and like that weird little freak with the lips. Like they just like added like I don't know what he's called.
No. To get even weirder, the fucking coin purse.
Mick Jagger.
You know,
Yeah.
in one of the Mario games, there's a coin purse that's invisible, and you have to chase it down. And when you stomp on it, it explodes in coins. That is a playable character in this game.
Yeah, they just went like all in on just like the most obscure Mario characters. And
I mean, Birdo's a
love
playable
that.
character in this game, so that tells you
Birdo
how
was
weird
a
this.
playable-
I know.
Birdo's always been a playable character. She's an icon. But for the first time ever, if there's a choice of Birdo and Cow, I'm picking Cow. You know, in any other game, I would have picked Birdo first, but the cow is just incredible. And then like you see stuff like Fishbones and the dolphin, and they're just like hovering over the car because they can't like actually engage with it. I just think that's so good.
Goomba's the same way. And then one of the
yeah.
ones that I saw in the treehouse was Penguin. The penguin from
Yeah.
Mario 64 that you yeet their kid off the side of a mountain. That's a playable character in this game.
Whoa.
The snowman.
We did not yeet these penguins off the side of the fucking mountain, okay? Only war criminals do that.
Yeah, no, the snowman as well with the bucket on his head. He's like they just added just every Mario character. If you can think of like a Mario thing, it's probably a playable character.
Is the chatty flower from Wonder there?
I mean, probably.
He is.
We haven't seen it yet.
He's not playable, but he like sits on the carts at times or on the side of the track and makes comments.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if like Cappy becomes a playable character, like in his like top hat ghost form. Like, why not, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like an open world game a bit. So you basically like go through a Grand Prix and then, once you've finished a race, you just, drive to the next track.
It's like they took the best parts of Burnout Paradise and Forza Horizon and only used a few of them. That's what this game is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be better than both of those games. So. Yeah, so you drive to it. You can like explore the world. There's probably going to be like secrets and shit. Yeah. And then there's like Knockout Tour, which offers a map-sized race where at each checkpoint, the 4 lowest place races are eliminated. There's free roam. You've written no kart customization. There is some kart customization.
So when I say no kart customization, what I meant is in Mario Kart 8, you could choose your wheels, the body, and the paraglider thing. That's no longer present in this one. It's now you pick like Mario's traditional looking cart or a bike or on one of the clips I saw Luigi on a bloody snowmobile sort of with the tread at the back. So that's what I mean. So it's now specific carts or vehicle types, and then customization is like stickers and stuff.
Yeah. I think this looks really good. I'm a big fan of Mario Kart from 8 onwards, and also Double Dash, and none of the other games. But this looks really interesting. I'm a big fan of exactly 2 Mario Kart games, and this one could be the 3rd, is what I'm saying.
Not being a fan of Mario Kart 64 is also criminal.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Were you even born then? I don't even know.
Mario Kart
I will say
64 slapped.
Yeah. I do like the
I've
fact
got
that
a
you
response.
Oh, sorry. Breaking
I've got a
news.
response from Vook. From the sky. He says he's not actually sure. The texture feels more like the OLED. He says, I don't think it's plastic, so certainly some sort of metal. Sorry, I can't be more specific.
Yeah.
But it does seem like it's more in line with the OLED then.
That was my
That's good.
assumption looking at the videos, and especially how that kickstand was designed, that it was magnesium alloy from the OLED, which is good. Yeah. That makes sense.
I just have to point out, this is the first time we've ever had breaking news in the middle of a recording.
I know, in the middle of a recording.
From our reporter
From the
in
sky.
the sky. With Mario Kart, I do like the fact that they've added grinding. Not that I think you need to grind in a Mario Kart game, but like at wall rides, it now feels like you're not punished, so much now for like bouncing off things. The weird what do you call it?
Fucking Alamo.
Yeah, shut up, Alamo. There's no underwater driving in this game anymore. Your kart now transforms to a watercraft when you hit the water, so that's a little weird for me. But the thing that I really really like is in some of, especially in the free roaming and the races from track to track, when there's cars and obstacles on the track, you're now no longer yeeted into the sky and a massive explosion. Your kart just sort of stumbles a bit and you just keep you back into the race. So you're still punished, but with some cars and stuff, when you hit them, if you hit them at the right angle, you actually won't take any hit and you can just sort of bounce off and keep going. So there's a little bit more skill involved in that now. And I like that they've sort of evolved that beyond just the whole, you hit something, boom, explosion, and you've got to, wait 3 seconds to restart. So I like that.
I just want to say that Mario Kart has some mighty nice water tech, Nintendo. If only you had some type of water-based racing game that you could use that technology and
It's weird when you hit the
Just-
water
just
and you
an
turn
idea.
into it. Your cart turns into a jet ski, and you're bouncing across water on a jet ski, and it's like, really, really something going there.
Well, I mean, like you've also got aircraft that you can turn into for a short while. So there are. It looks like it's got like elements of Diddy Kong Racing in there too. I mean, that's got hovercraft, it's got aircraft in it, as well as go karting, which is normal. Plus, you've got some open world elements in it, like you do in Diddy Kong Racing too. So they just seem to be taking a lot of cues from all sorts of really well-made racing games over the years of varying types, right? Again, going back to my joke about Burnout, like I actually would kind of like to have seen like a bit of a crash mode or something like that in this. Something kind of fun, which isn't necessarily just racing. But I'm still keen as all heck for this game. Don't get me wrong.
I don't think there's ever going to be a Mario Kart game that like pops up with a thing on the screen saying eliminate the opponents, right? Like that's.
Oh, I don't mean like completely destroy them.
I just want to point out that Mario Kart has, in its subtext, had eliminate the opponents at all stages.
The turtle shells.
Yeah, it's like crashing is never going to be like the point of a Mario Kart game,
Oh well, no, but it has been though. Like, I mean, that's exactly what battle mode was. Like, you go ahead and just destroy the opponents and things like that. But you have balloons that indicate their health meters or whatever. Like, if it was something like that, not necessarily like completely like obliterate Toad's head or anything. I'm not talking about going that far.
Drive it along and Toad just.
Yeah,
I will say too.
No.
So some of the things they've also added to this game is the feather from Super Mario Kart has returned. So you can now just yeet yourself into the sky at random with a feather. There's a new coin shell. So when you throw it, it just lays out a whole row of coins for you to collect because if you have up to 20 coins, the more coins you have, the faster your overall top speed is. So if you have 20, you go faster than if you have none. So that's there. There's a coin block. And there was a new item. I can't remember what it is.
Had the hammer.
Hammers.
That's it, the hammer. So when you have a hammer, you just sort of a whole bunch of hammers. Oh, and there's an ice flower now. So there's a fire flower and there's an ice flower, which does slow you down a little bit. So you're not just frozen in ice. It just slows you down.
But also the structure of the races have changed slightly too. Like some of them are just straight up getting from one point of the map to the other point of the map. And that constitutes like what 2 laps would be in a traditional Mario Kart race, and the 3rd lap is like your destination. You do a full lap around that destination, so they're just completely remixing like the way that the tracks even operate. Which again is just
there's one thing too that I saw when they so I've got the treehouse footage playing for people watching the video, and when they talked about this, I was like, that feels wrong somehow. Items now by default hang behind your cart. You don't have to hold down a button to do it; they just sit behind you.
Which means that people can steal them now. They can just run up to you, crash into the back of you, and use your mushroom.
Yeah. So they can steal your mushroom, or turtle shell or banana.
Be perpetually fucked by something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
My question is like, we've seen how all of this plays, but like, is there going to be like a campaign mode, right? Because like this kind of open world, like progress through different tracks and stuff, free roaming stuff, does feel like it is ripe for a campaign.
There is a direct happening in a couple of weeks, so
about it.
maybe that's when they'll talk about it more. I will say, so in the free roam, they did dive into it again in the treehouse. There are these golden, basically like fast food takeaway bags littered around the place, and when you pick one up, even in a race, and the footage is just about to show it now, your character will don a new costume for a limited time. I don't know why. So he gets a burger, you eat the burger, and he becomes has a different outfit.
I mean, that's my life. Every time I go out for takeaway, like I have to change my clothes afterwards.
Yeah, and yes, the cow does eat a burger.
Yeah. But in the free roam,
meats.
when they're driving around, there's a thing in the top corner for the area you're in, and it has like the outfits that are in that area. So I'm assuming there's some sort of reason to just explore free roam because you will unlock more outfits for races. Whether or not they actually do anything.
There's apparently like all sorts of unlockables throughout the world and just hidden things. Like there's going to be exploration. There's going to be little character-based tokens that you can find all around the place. It looks super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I feel like we kind of have to. Go on.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if this is might come up in the direct, or maybe I missed it. Has it been discussed in the open world area? Is it like a thing where like we can just all play, Like we
Yeah.
are we gonna be able to be in? Yeah, okay, that is a
Yeah.
thing. Sick.
Yeah, I don't know how it works though. Like, do you just drop in to your friend's instance of the game or something like that? Like, how does that work? It's not like Forts, obviously, where they're going to be like drive avatars or anything.
Man, I hope
that
it's
they
like
haven't,
Paradise.
that they
Paradise
haven't
has the
explained.
most seamless
Yeah, just drop in and drop out.
way of doing this.
Mm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think we kind of have to talk a little bit about the price. And this is something that is going to come up. Especially because like the situation is different in Australia compared to most of the world. So in the US, Mario Kart World is $80, which is quite expensive. Here it's like
Not for long.
no, for, it's probably going to be like $300 by the end of the month. Yeah, so it's $80. And like that is the most expensive Nintendo game to date. Most Switch 1 games were $60, and then Tears of the Kingdom was $70. So this being $80, quite a lot. In Australia, not really much we have to worry about. I think it's like what, 115 here.
119.95 is the official RRP for Mario Kart World.
Yeah. And then like most other Switch 2 games seem to be around, like first party games like Bonanza and all of that seem like they're
Yeah,
gonna be the same
109. It's
still.
110 for Donkey Kong, 120 for Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Which is still cheaper than a
what we've seen
PS5 game.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's what we've seen, like, or less than what we've seen for like, you know, PS5 games, which are regular like 125 plus. But you know, it is an increase, especially when, you know, for all of the Switch 1 generation, we've had games that were like routinely coming out at like $70 or $80, and now we're like, you know, $30 to $40 more. You know, I think the story here isn't that games have risen; it's that they took so long to rise for Nintendo in Australia. Yeah, other regions, yeah, it is kind of rough. But I also do kind of get the sense that, like, I don't know, it feels like Mario Kart World is probably going to be one of those games that gets a bunch of free updates after the fact, rather than paid DLC.
I'm looking forward to seeing which first car company is the one to bring their Mercedes-Benz type chassis to the game, because there's precedent now, so somebody has to do it.
I'm gonna assume it's Mercedes-Benz.
I mean, they've been working with like Honda on those.
Honda and Toyota, yeah.
Honda and Toyota on those like Pokemon things. So, I mean, we could see either of them. I mean, it would be amazing if they added the Pokemon motorcycles that they've been making as rideable motorcycles in.
I think
Mario Kart
like
World, but yeah.
I just want to point out, like, I think everyone here probably feels the same. Like, price increases suck. Like, no one is going to argue that increasing price is not an unfortunate thing to do. Like, it is a lot of money. Like, I can afford it, but even I see like 120 is a lot of money for a lot of people, and it's really shit. I just think it's one of those unfortunate having like a massive catch up year. It's just prices haven't increased for so long at this point that instead of being that gradual price increase, which they probably should have done, like in hindsight, it's just happening all at once, and it's just a massive sticker shock.
Yeah.
I think the price increase thing, like, it's always a bit of a shock every time there's a new console generation, because it immediately, the games that come out with the console at the beginning of their generation, they're always expensive, no matter what. They're always full retail price anytime, anywhere you go. Then 6 to 12 months later, we start seeing them debut cheaper. You know, I'm thinking of PS5 games. To get any sort of PS5 game when they came out was like $120, $130. For like Miles Morales, for example, was super expensive. It's still expensive to get it now on the eShop and on the PlayStation Store in Australia if you're trying to buy it there. If you go to like JB Hi-Fi or something, you could easily pick that up for like $40, $50 now. Nintendo games depreciate differently in that a lot of them don't really depreciate at all, particularly things like Zelda games and stuff. But I'm looking at Mario Party Jamboree, for example. I mean, I'm looking at my Amazon history. When I bought that, I paid $64 for it at launch, which was 31st of August. Currently on Amazon, it is now retailing for around about $90 to $98, depending on where you look. JB Hi-Fi, you can still pick it up for $69. Big W, you can still pick it up for $69. EB Games, you can pick it up for $80. So the prices vary wildly. Now, I'm not saying that like they're going to remain this price necessarily for games, but what I'm saying is like because there's no consistency across what the price of these games are going to be. Yes, Mario Kart is going to be expensive, but we don't even know what Metro Prime is going to cost. We don't. We know that Donkey Kong's not going to be that expensive at this point. So, and then like I was saying, like 12 months time when games debut, initially retailers generally sell them $10, $15 cheaper than what they are. So yeah,
I totally agree.
So at the moment, yes, it is going to sting, but it's always like that at the beginning of any console generation. Switch games were expensive as all heck, and now we're picking them up like $64 at launch. So it's always going to be like this. But granted, yes, when they do start coming down in 12 months' time, they may not come down like as cheap as they were, but relatively, I think they'll still sort of rubber band around a certain price point and fluctuate as we go. So
I don't think it will take too long for us to start seeing like JB and similar places like offering games at, you know, $80-$90. Like I don't think that will take too long because we're already seeing like $89 is not uncommon for like a PS5 game at JB when, you know, everyone else is well when EB and the digital copies like cost $120. So yeah.
I think this Australia retail like launch day competitiveness is pretty strong still. Now, like if you want to pick up a Nintendo game, the best day to pick it up has always been launch day because everyone's fighting for everyone to purchase it from their store. So yeah, hopefully we see that continue because that will be great.
Something that hasn't been confirmed for Australia yet, but I think is really interesting in Europe is that digital games are cheaper in Europe on Switch too. So
this is what interests me, right? Is the price of digital games versus retail games and what that's going to be like. So yeah, please go on.
So yeah, it's like €10 or about $15 cheaper to buy the first party games digitally than it is to buy them physically. That has been the case in Europe, and we've seen at least one game will follow that method in Japan as well. It has not been confirmed for the US, but the US is a whole thing right now. And yeah, it hasn't been confirmed for Australia yet, but I think it's likely that we will also get cheaper digital games just because we use the same storefront backend that Europe uses. I think it's possible that we would.
Well, considering that the bundle for Mario Kart World is cheaper and you get the digital version of that game, like it's like $40 or $50 cheaper or something like that, which is insane. Yeah, it's insane to me that it's going to be that cheap. I don't think it's going to be that cheap going forward for every game, but I hope that is at least a signal that, yeah, like what you're saying, Ollie, that we will get slightly cheaper digital games this time around.
See, because I think like $115 at retail is like, you know, it's a little bit expensive, but like if it's that and then like $100 digitally, that's going to be like for a lot of people, like digital is going to be the better choice. And you know, given that delivering a game digitally has like next to none of the cost that delivering a physical game, like it makes sense.
I mean,
but like
this was the promise, right? That we've heard for so long that digital games are meant to be cheaper than buying physical games. Well, like I'm a physical guy, and even I'm like is now the time to like finally switch over for Nintendo? It really sucks because I was talking about it in our chat. I made the choice to stick to physical for Switch 1 because Nintendo was so notoriously bad at like online that I didn't trust anything like going forward. This is now being proven to be, you know, well, not untrue, quote unquote, I guess. Like they're moving everything forward, which is great. So now I have this massive physical library of Switch games, and I have to make the choice: do I like a hard cut and Switch 2 onwards I do digital and get cheaper games potentially, or do I continue the physical life?
This was always the hurdle for digital versus physical in Australia, because in America it is cheaper to get digital games. Like you get them $5 to $10 cheaper than you do a retail, thereabouts, or whatever, or at least, at the very least, they are the same price. If you go to a Walmart or a Best Buy, they are the same price as they are on the PlayStation Store or Xbox. Here, it is the wild goddamn west as to how much you're going to be paying digitally versus physically. And so I always just buy my games physically unless specifically there is a sale. And there's a like significant price drop.
another indicator of this is what we've seen with key cards. So this is something like we'll talk about this now because we don't really have it as a thing. But key cards are a new thing that aren't really a new thing. So with the Switch,
they're a new take on an old thing.
Yeah. So there's a concept on Switch 2 called key cards, which are basically game cards that do not contain the game. So you walk into a retail store, you buy a copy of Bravely Default HD Remaster, which, by the way, very excited for that. Exactly my kind of shit. And then you slot it into your Switch, and instead of just being able to play the game, you have to download it first. Now, this is like much cheaper than it's going to be digitally. I think it's only like $50 for Bravely Default.
$59.95.
$59.95 is the official.
And the other key cards that we've seen haven't been anywhere near that, like 100 and whatever price. But the concept behind key cards is basically it's replacing the code in a box, which was something that we saw a lot on Switch, where basically you would walk into a store and then you would buy an empty Switch card that just had like a slip of paper in it that said you can download this game.
Well, so what happened? Ubisoft are notorious for this. They do a production run of like Assassin's Creed: The Ezio trilogy on a card. You'd get the first game on it, download the other two. Once that first production run was done, it would come back to stores as a code in a box. Final Fantasy VII non-remake edition launched on Switch on a card. When it was done, Square Enix brought it back in stores as a code in the box. So a lot of these games got production runs first, and you can still find them physically in stop shops and overseas. But now their second release is a code in the box.
So I think it's also really important to clarify because there's been so much confusion about this on the internet. It's pretty much constant. I don't think I've seen social media day since the announcement that someone hasn't asked this question and been confused about it. It isn't a key card in the sense that you plug it into your console and then the game is tied to your Nintendo Online account and you don't need the card anymore. It works, if you think about it, it works literally like a key. So you plug in the card to your console, it downloads the game, there's no data on the card, and then to continue playing that game, you need to have that card in your console. In perpetuity. But that hopeful, and probably what you're about to say, what we're hoping means is that you can then sell the game to someone else.
Well, Nintendo has kind of confirmed this because it says in the FAQ on the US support page that it can be placed into any Switch, any Switch 2, and be played on that. So as long as you have it on that, like it's not tied to your account. The benefit of this is like twofold. First, yes, you can sell or lend or whatever what would otherwise be tied to your account. The second is that developers who otherwise wouldn't have a physical presence, like indie developers, can now have that without having to pay ridiculous prices for Switch cards, because that is a really, really difficult thing right now, is that like indie developers can't afford to do that. We've had a whole bunch of companies come up with like limited run stuff where they're basically not making any money. And in this case, like they could do a physical release on PS5 because the cost to print a Blu-ray is like 4 cents. But doing that on Switch, like even just like the base card was like $6 or $7. So this means, like, from what we can see so far, it seems to be a lot cheaper for developers to put a game on a key card. And yeah, there's, you can resell it. It's not perfect, obviously. In an ideal world, it would be viable to put the entire game on the cart. But this is going to allow for a lot more games to get physical,
retail-ish releases.
Retail releases.
So there's two real main downsides to these. One is that you need an internet connection, at least initially, to download the game. So, like, regardless, you need one. The second one is just game preservation in general. Like, the game key card is nothing. Like, in the future, if any of these services go down, and obviously at the moment Nintendo's been pretty good, right? Like, a lot of the online stuff is still available, like for 3DS and so forth. You can still download that stuff. But in the future, if that ever does go away, the game key card is literally worthless. It doesn't mean anything.
But I think, like, in that case, like it's not an improvement. Like it's not a step back at all, right? Like, but
Yeah,
it's
correct.
also
Yeah.
not an improvement. It's a flat line
No.
from what we were doing last time, where there were just like slips in a box with a code that you redeem on your Nintendo account. That also would have just been useless. So
Yeah.
This is no change on that front, which I'm glad it didn't slide backwards.
What
But
is
I
funny
think it
though,
also like, sorry, just I'll finish my point. It does also contextualize the changes that we saw with the virtual game card system.
Yeah.
Because virtual game cards work basically the same as these new physical key cards. So, I think that tells us a lot about where Nintendo's head is at the moment.
Well,
and
that's
how
what
they're
that sort of
operating.
Except as of yet, you can't sell them. But maybe Nintendo's got some shit in the hood. I've got no idea.
The way that I understand it is the code in the box with the game sharing, the virtual game cards, is the same way as the key card, just without the whole need to unload and load it on your system digitally. That's what I understand it to be. So I say I'm doing the bulk of it at the moment, but we're pulling together a massive mega guide for Switch 2. On the screen right now, so sort of above me, I have put in an asset that is going in this guide, and it's the bottom of all the game cases. There are 3 types of game cases that will be at retail. Your standard one, which I'm just using Mario Kart, is just the rating, and that's it. The game key has the game key card bit and has a QR code. And I did chuckle at this. I have checked it as well. It does have a URL. So it's nintendo.com/au/switch2/keycard. That website does not exist on the Australian website at the moment. So, go Nintendo's big QR code for it and everything. And then the other one is the Switch 2 editions, which we'll get into later. So there are 3 types of cases. So the case is the same, it's red and all that, but there are 3 types of like bottoms that you'll see on cases. So you just need to be aware that if you're picking up a game and it is a key card game, there will be a download required. So if you're buying a game for your cousin or something, just be aware of that.
Retail employees, I am so sorry. I feel for you.
There is
much.
Also like 2 subtypes of Switch edition games, as we found out like literally just this morning from a third-party developer, but we'll get into that in a second. Well, not in a second, where we still have to get through Donkey Kong. Let's talk about Donkey Kong. There's a brand new Donkey Kong game, a 3D Donkey Kong game. It's called Donkey Kong Bonanza, which, I mean, what
11
a
out
banger
of 10
name.
Bro, but as soon as that title
so
came
good.
up, I was actually like Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen. I was like, banana, but with a Z in it.
I will say, I will
yes.
point out, when I put because I was doing the assets for the social stuff, I was doing the work during the show, and I was putting all the socials together. I did misspell Bonanza. I left an N out. So it's
disgusting.
It's Bonanza.
Straight to jail.
I saw like a Forbes article where they spelt it Bonanza, but with the actual spelling of Bonanza, and I was like, fire that person.
Okay, I think I know how that happens, and that's because autocorrect in Google Docs just changes Bonanza to be spelled correctly.
I'm not actually saying fire that person in the sun, but I am also saying that person in the sun.
Anyway, Donkey Kong Bonanza. We spent so long talking about the name already, but it is a really good name. So yeah, it is a 3D Donkey Kong game. Like, oh my god, my lights are flickering. It is a 3D Donkey Kong game like Donkey Kong 64, but good. By the looks of it.
Wow.
Sorry, but it looks like an actual good game, and Donkey Kong 64
This is why I can't trust Ollie's opinion on almost anything. He loves the Switch original UI, but he hates Donkey Kong 64. I'm like, what?
Yeah, because one of them is good and one of them is bad.
Your opinion is just based on a roll of the dice. It boggles me.
So yeah,
Oh my
this
God.
has a big focus on destructible terrain, which is what people are calling it Red Faction Guerrilla.
Oh, it's so good.
Very good.
Which,
Love that one.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, lots of destructible terrain. You can like smash through like the ground and just like, tunnel a hole, and it looks really cool. Some stuff requires support, some stuff is unbreakable. There's new enemies called Void Co that are stealing Banandium, which sure.
I was going to point out, there's a part in this trailer where DK smashes a guy's skin off and destroys his skeleton.
Yeah.
Like,
So-
it's brutal as hell.
So that's the thing. So that enemy type, it's called a void croc, I think, from the treehouse, and it's actually like the skeleton. It's a crocodile skeleton thing, which is like considering King K. Rool or King Cruel, whatever you want to call him, and all his minions were like crocodile-esque creatures. Is like, does that mean they've been reanimated from the dead now? It's just their bones walking around. But they wear like concrete outer shells, so you need strong things to break them open.
It's like we're going back to Old Testament Donkey Kong, where he's just vengeful as all heck. It's great. I love it. And he
yeah,
also
I love-
so the game.
I love how expressive DK is.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's
it's
super-
really good.
Like, I love the
game-
redesigned DK. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's iconic and everything, but he always looks like a little bit of a doofus, and that's fine. Like, he's a big gorilla. Like, it's okay. He can be a little bit comedic. But this, like, he actually looks kind of meanish and grumpy. Like Old Testament, he looks like the original DK who would actually steal a princess and climb a tower. You know, not a princess,
Yeah.
sort of just some chick.
Pauline is a princess. How dare you? But yeah, I really like the DK redesign. We kind of already knew that he was getting a redesign when we saw the Switch 2 trailer, and he had a redesign in the
And
in the
people
Mario.
freaked out. How dare you
Yeah.
redesign DK? So
Did
the
they?
designer
I
for
saw
the
nothing but excitement about it. To be honest.
from that
Oh, no,
original
there were a
Switch
lot of
trailer.
angry people.
Yeah.
yeah, we're on
so-
different sides of the internet, Angelo.
Yeah, we are.
So Kevin Bayless, the designer of the Super Nintendo Donkey Kong, which also was the style they used in that cartoon series that is not worth watching. He came out and he said he loves this new design. He said it pays homage to it, but it's also its own thing. So if the guy who originally created the Donkey Kong that most people know is happy with this redesign, nobody else has a right to complain. If he had issues with it, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure. But no, he's happy with it, so everyone can just move on.
Yeah. No, I think like the problem with like the DK is that like there was such a hard ceiling on how expressive he could be.
Yeah.
That design was like, it just you couldn't get very far with it. And if he's going to be like the protagonist of a 3D game like this and in cutscenes and shit, it just like it wasn't going to last long. So the new design I think is a lot more expressive, allows a lot more options. But yeah, so in this game, you start on the surface and you sort of like bury deep down into the planet. It seems really, really interesting. Vook has played it. He said it was really interesting and fun. It seems to be made by the Mario Odyssey team, which you can kind of tell from the visuals because, boy, it is very, very visually similar to Odyssey.
Yeah.
And I think that there's probably a through line for this. Now, I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but the Nintendo Korea page. So in Donkey Kong Bonanza, you have this like talking rock with you.
Oddrock. That's his official name. It's
Oddrock.
Oddrock.
Oh,
Well-
it's nice.
Hmm.
It may not be a him. So in the
Wait,
In
there
the
are lady
official-
rocks?
yeah,
game is
and this
too
rock
woke.
may be a lady.
Not here
In
for
the
it.
official on the official Nintendo Korea page for Donkey Kong Bonanza, the key art has Oddrock replaced with what looks to be a young version of Pauline, who is wearing a bracelet made out of the same material that Oddrock is made of. Now, she's like riding on his back in the thing in the key art. So, it seems
I mean, the
like,
rock's purple, so it's obviously female. Duh.
But yeah, so it does seem to be a young version of Pauline. I think whether or not this is like, I mean, it can't really be like a retcon because we've seen Cranky Kong. He's in it. So, it has to be current DK in current time. So it's not like a young version of Pauline because canonically Cranky Kong was the one who kidnapped Pauline back in the day. So, maybe she's been de-aged, maybe, it's a child, maybe it's just another similar looking child in a red dress, but yeah, I think that is really interesting. And there is kind of like a little bit of a focus on like singing. We see DK doing some singing stuff and whistling and all of that, so
Yeah, the whistling is him and Oddrock together when they whistle or make music. That creates like a navigational path. So if you have buried yourself under a mountain and have no idea which way you're supposed to go to get out or to get to the next objective, that's what you do. You whistle and move on from there. So I think that's kind of cool.
I think it's interesting that they have given him pants and make him look like overalls now, so he basically looks just like what Mario used to.
What's really funny is in the Treehouse presentation, in the opening thing when the Voidco first show up, they get ripped off him, and then he's naked after that. So it's like for all the marketing stuff, he's wearing overalls, but in the game play that they've shown off, he's not wearing overalls.
Well, I hope
he
that's
does have
reflected in the
different
rating.
costumes.
Cannot be rated G in that case.
He will have different costumes.
It's not. It's rated PG.
There we go.
Yeah, he will have different costumes and stuff. So, maybe you can get the overalls back.
I will say the
But-
Australian rating it also mentions online interactivity, which has me interested.
It will probably just be leaderboards like Odyssey's one that also said online interactivity.
Well, but
Don't shame me.
Hey,
Let me dream.
Hold on, no. But we saw what happened with Odyssey's online capabilities. There was a whole kerfuffle about
balloons.
that. We were seeing the wrong kind of balloons in that game.
But that was added like way after.
Doesn't matter the timeline;
rating.
it still happened.
I mean, he takes off his pants, so who can say?
Mm-hmm. Sees
But no, I
balloons
think
as-
this looks really, really good. I'm very, very excited to play this.
The coolest part, this game's out in July. This game's out about 7 weeks after the Switch 2 launches, which is what my prediction was. Mario Kart would be this game, would be like the game coming out like 2 months after. So
Yeah.
I was wrong on the game, but I was right on the timing. So I'm very happy that this game's coming out much sooner than later.
Alrighty. Switch 2 editions. This is an interesting thing that has a lot of weird caveats and a couple questions that are not yet answered. So these are game upgrades. Basically the same that the PS5 worked, where if there was a PS5 version of a game, you could pay like $10 to upgrade to the PS5 version. You can do the same with Switch games that are getting Switch 2 releases. So we've seen 6 first-party games are announced. There's a couple others as well. But there's like, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. These games run at, a higher resolution, a higher frame rate.
Playable
basically
frame
taking-
rate, some might say.
Yeah, playable frame rates. So yeah, these are taking making full use of the Switch 2's hardware. There's also a separate thing that are just game upgrades that are not part of the Switch 2 edition program, where some games will get updates to better utilize the hardware without like having any other changes. So Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and a couple others will do that. It's still going to run like shit, but hey. So yeah, we've seen Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Both of those will be included for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members as well, which I think is a nice touch.
So is that the Switch 2 editions? Are they available in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
So we don't have to-
upgrades.
So we don't have to pay for an upgrade for that.
But the two
No.
Zeldas, no.
Yeah,
They're
because
included as part of the
it's,
membership.
it's just another confusing element to all of this. It was like, yeah, they're like, oh, everyone has to pay for the Switch 2 upgrades. And then, yeah, I saw something about some functionality of it being available to NSO members. I just assumed it was just the higher frame rates. I didn't realize it was a Switch 2 edition upgrade.
Yeah. So the Switch
Okay.
2 edition upgrade is free for those two games for Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack members. There's also other games such as Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Mario Party Jamboree that in their upgrades, which will be a little bit more expensive, they also basically get DLC. So they get all of the extra, higher frame rate, higher resolution, new features, etc. But they also have additional content included as well. So yeah, I think there are also some third-party games. Civilization 7 will get a Switch 2 edition, and Rune Factory will also get one. Civ 7 will use the mouse, which I think is super cool.
I'm intrigued to see how many games get a Switch 2 edition and how many games just get the small like patch. Hey, it'll improve performance on Switch 2, or unlock
Yeah.
frame rates, unlock resolution, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's quite a few because like I don't know, the library's freaking huge. There's so many games that I would love to see just perform better, just not necessarily have any improvements other than just perform better.
Or like The Witcher 3, right? Like that still exists on Switch, and it was capped at 30 FPS. Like it would be cool if that got a 60 FPS patch and slightly like better textures or something like that.
The
Yeah.
Doom games.
Well, we
Oh,
don't know
yeah,
how
absolutely.
extensive these updates can be before they have to be switched to editions. We also don't know if developers can offer Switch 2 edition upgrades for free.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
Um,
I hope it's a
Mm.
developer or publisher level option rather than a Nintendo one at the end of the day.
yeah.
I'm gonna assume this is just pure theory that if it's something just like changing frame rate or removing resolution caps and stuff like that, it's probably just going to be a cheeky like non Switch 2 edition. But I think if you're adding features, upgrading textures, all that type of jazz, improving models, that's where it like crosses over into Switch 2 edition territory.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's going to be similar to like, how there's like a bunch of like PS4 games that like, have, they're not like, they're not PS5 games, right? You can still just like download them
Yeah.
on PS4. But like they got updates, after the PS5 came out where it's like, well, if you play this on PS5, look at that. It just has access to better things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like Assassin's
Kingdom
Creed
Hearts
Odyssey,
3,
for example. How the frame rate
Assassin's
was
Creed
uncapped on
Odyssey,
that
yeah.
one and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it's going to be a similar thing here, where it's like we're updating the Switch 1 version because we're not making a bespoke Switch 2 version. I think that's what like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and those kinds of games are going to get.
Mhm.
Speaking of Pokemon, Pokemon Legends ZA is actually getting a Switch 2 edition as well, and it runs at
Yeah.
a much higher resolution and
Yeah.
actually at a locked 60 FPS.
Mhm.
Well, that's because it's
Which-
only coming to Switch 2. There's no Switch version anymore because anyone who plays
Yeah,
that game on
mean-
Switch needs to have their heads examined.
I also want to point out that Kirby Forgotten Land is fixing that exact thing I talked about in the other podcast about the draw distance with animation frame rate.
Yeah.
I watched the full video of that, and I was like keeping an eye out. I was like, is anything in like half rate in the distance? And everything looked beautiful.
I'm
Very
It might
excited
still
to
be
play
half
that.
rate, but half rate now is like 30 FPS. So
Totally
You know,
true.
That's
Not,
sort of
not like 1 FPS.
That's sort of what I'm wondering with the Zelda games as well, because the draw distance on some of the foliage and stuff kicks in like when they're 20 feet away or something like
So
that.
the comparison they showed on the Treehouse Live definitely has greater draw distance for stuff,
Okay.
without a doubt.
It was also
Improved textures, like it's like a nice little upgrade.
it's also super wild to watch these Zelda games at like a 4K resolution, or at least like an upscaled resolution on the Nintendo channel. Like it almost,
1440p.
like it feels illegal to see it look that good coming from Nintendo. Because I'm only
Okay,
used
can I
to
say
seeing it
it
from,
was
this is
illegal.
like,
I'm only used to
this is
seeing it
gonna
like
be-
on emulation channels.
this is gonna be my one extra complaint. Probably not my one. There's probably more, but this is one I'm gonna bring up now. Nintendo, please learn what anti-aliasing is. For the love of God, just enable it on some stuff. Like, it's wild.
See, the thing is, right, if Nintendo wants to use DLSS, it will need anti-aliasing because the data that's used for anti-aliasing is also used for DLSS. So if they want to use like off-the-shelf DLSS, they will need to have anti-aliasing in their engine. I think they probably won't. I think they will almost certainly just use
Nintendo has their own version of AI
bespoke-
upscaling now, so
Yeah.
they've probably done that
Oh
just
my
to avoid
God.
anti-aliasing.
But that could
Just
that
to,
could,
just to spite Michael.
but that could come forced from the Nvidia side though, right? They could force their own anti-aliasing in their encoder. They don't have to necessarily do it on the hardware.
In DLSS, yes, but like, there's nothing stopping from anyone from using. Or it depends, right? We don't know. FSR might be a thing now on Nintendo Switch 2, like
I mean,
potentially.
it's already a thing on Switch 1.
Yeah, exactly, right. So like, you could just do whatever you want. So
Yeah. So
I think,
yes,
like,
we'll see what
so
happens.
what I'm saying is like
the
Nintendo
thing
doesn't have to
about-
do it on their end necessarily. Like Nvidia could just do it baked into their DLSS anyway.
Well,
Yes.
Yes and no. The problem is that like Nintendo's engine doesn't have like temporal edge detection. So like the edges of models and stuff aren't like, there's no markers in their engine for like where the edges of models are, which is required for data over time when doing DLSS stuff. Now, obviously, Nintendo's going to make improvements to its engine such that it will have that. There are actually a couple of Switch games not developed by Nintendo in-house, but like published by Nintendo using Nintendo properties that do use AA. So, Nintendo's clearly familiar with the concept of AA at least.
yeah.
But yeah,
They've heard
it
of
will
it.
be a necessity to do that. But there are like NVIDIA technologies to do automatic like edge detection and stuff like that that will help with that. But we'll have to see how Nintendo actually uses it.
I just want to point out, I've had the Zelda comparison showing side by side on the video, and they're just running through the Korok Forest, and I'm one of those people that frame rate drops have to be like significant for me to notice them, and Breath of the Wild had a few of them, but generally my brain just sort of skips over them. But watching Breath of the Wild on Switch and Breath of the Wild on Switch 2 side by side,
genuinely,
like it's just shocking how bad Switch 1 was. But again,
yeah.
Like Korok Forest, I knew the frame rate drops were there. Like you saw it with Link's running animation, it was always, chunky because it was missing stuff because they were trying to render in so much. But just seeing the game side by side in that area just shows how much.
Korok Forest is a beautiful example, and obviously they used that on purpose because it was notorious. But the thing I loved about Korok Forest on Switch 1 is that you could just stand still and like a leaf would blow across the screen and like half the frame rate would be gone. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah. Well, I think the thing as well is that like when there are frame drops now, it's going to be less of an issue because of VRR. So
so excited.
Yeah, I'm super keen for that. Yeah. There's so much about this, and the Switch 2 editions, I think, it's basically what we expected. It's better than what a lot of people expected because a lot of people were expecting that they would just be like full-priced Switch 2 versions of games. And there is actually an upgrade path, which is very good.
So the local pricing has not been announced for Australia, but Japan's doing like Zelda games. They're 10,000 yen, which is about 10 LG bucks, and the Paper Mario Party, and Kirby games are 2,000 yen, so about 20 bucks. So
yeah,
10,
so it
10
looks
to
like
20
it'll be
bucks.
10 bucks for games that don't have additional content, and then for games that do have like extra DLC or whatever, will be 20.
Yeah, which I'm okay with that. I don't think that's an issue. Yeah. I will say though, the only concern that I have is around Metroid, because if Prime comes out here even at $90, which is what the two Zelda games launched at, if it's $10 more to get the Switch 2 edition, that would make the Switch 2 version $100.
Wasn't that huge disclaimer at the bottom that says that like the Switch 2 edition is unlocked for free?
Bring this up. Yeah, so the Switch 2 edition disclaimer at the bottom, I think, has some really important text in it. I don't know if this has been 100% confirmed. It's a little bit vague, but the way it reads, it sounds like if you buy a Switch 2 edition physical copy of a game, this might be different from Metro Prime 4, at least for the Zelda and Kirby's and stuff. It looks like you're getting a Switch 1 cartridge.
You get
some
Switch 1 game and a code to upgrade.
And a code. There you go. That's been 100% confirmed. That's what it sounds like in the text. I wasn't sure if that's been locked in.
So by default,
a Nintendo representative confirmed it.
So
okay,
by default, when you buy a Metroid Prime 4, you are getting the best possible version of it out of the box. Is that what we're saying? For your
Not necessarily. Well, this is what we don't know about Metroid Prime 4. It's labeled as a Switch 2 edition, but I don't know if that actually means it's going to be the same as these ones, where it comes with just the Switch 1 game and the code to upgrade, or if it's just called Switch 2 edition and it's actually going to be the Switch 2 version of the game.
Right. As in, it doesn't run
it's
at all.
a little bit confusing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there is at least, there is at least one game that's a third-party game. I can't find it. I did see it earlier this morning. That there will be some games where it's basically just like a multi-SKU cart where you can put it in your Switch 1 and
that makes sense.
And you put it in Switch 2 and
is it that Rune Factory game? No, it's the Story of Seasons.
It's something like that.
I think it's Story of Seasons. Hold on, EB Games website. Save me.
We saw that with PS4, PS5 games. There were a number of those that would launch and it would just be a free upgrade. So if you put a PS4 disc in a PS5, you'd get the PS5 version. It was generally the first party stuff where you had to pay the extra, or 2K with their ridiculous upgrade system to get, the new version of NBA. So we've seen other companies do it on other platforms. So it wouldn't surprise me if somebody's doing it on Switch 2, where it's like one cart for both platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My question is like, just like how, right? Like if it is a thing where it's like, if it is like a Switch 1 cartridge and then you get a download code for the Switch 2 version, do you just download the entirety of the Switch 2 version and then the cart acts as a key card for that? Because like otherwise it's not going to be fast enough to load the assets, right?
I'm going to assume at least part of it is definitely going to be that, because the Switch 2 versions seem to be coming with like improved assets. So it isn't just gonna like run the textures off the Switch 1 card. Also, the Switch 1 card's gonna be too slow.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm assuming it is just literally gonna be that. You're gonna get the Switch 1 card, you're gonna get the upgrade code, and it's literally just gonna download the entire game. Or at least if it doesn't download the entire game, which I don't know why it wouldn't, it maybe will install some common assets from the card.
Just like the key cards. It's going to be the same thing because that's what it is on Xbox. With Xbox, you buy an Xbox One game, put it in your Series X, it installs the game to the console because Xbox require all games to be installed, and then it downloads the extra content to make it the One X or the Series X version. I suspect it's literally going to be the exact same system here because there's no other way around it. You can't have half the game on a cartridge from Switch 1 and half the game are downloaded to your Switch 2 and have them talk to each other. It's just not possible. They will not work that way. So I suspect it's going to be like Xbox and PlayStation with how they do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the problem with like all of this stuff is like there's so much that is unknown at the moment. I think Nintendo has communicated a lot of stuff and some of that is poorly communicated.
I will say this. So for the mega guide that I'm pulling together, I have gone through all of the things that I can find and I'm sort of boiling it down to simple language. So that might help as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as I said, upgrades are good. That there's an upgrade path, and rather than just like having to buy a new game is also good. And yeah, I'll be really interested to see which games get updates that improve them as well. And also Pokemon Legends ZA is looking good on Switch too, which is great because
it's looking better.
It's looking better.
Good is a rough word to use there.
I mean, it's not running at like 480p at like
totally
30 frames a second, which is what we were looking at previously. So yeah.
I will say I saw that Cyberpunk on Switch 2 in handheld mode. I think they confirmed is running at 540p.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting. I'm assuming that's using DLSS for the love of God.
Well,
so
they also
I guess
said that like, they put that port together in like 7 months. So
100%.
It will definitely improve over time. Like Witcher 3 improved massively. Like when it launched, it was like running at like 300p. But like even that,
I don't really know what the rush is though. Like,
they want to have a game at launch.
I guess just
that's it. They just want to be like they want to have shit on shelves when people
the guy
choose. Yeah.
So Cyberpunk is Steam Deck verified. Not that means anything in the grand scheme of things.
It
just
doesn't mean shit. Let me tell you, it does not mean a single goddamn thing.
What I'm bringing this up for is that when it launched, when Steam Deck launched, you could play the game on it, but it wasn't built for it. Like, wasn't like aimed at the tech. But CD Projekt Red, we know they fucked up with Cyberpunk at launch, right? On PS4 and Xbox One, it looked like shit. But they took their time. They finally got it working. They did the same with the PC version. So if Switch 2 launches in a state, I give them a bit of credit that they will come back and fix it.
Well, see the other thing, right?
That's their history.
That low resolution footage that we saw on Switch 2 already looks way better than the PS4 and Xbox One versions that we had. Like,
it should.
It's
been 5 years.
Yeah,
it should.
Yeah. But yeah. Let's talk about the C button, because there's a lot surrounding this.
C button for cool.
Yeah, the cool button. So yeah, the C button opens up something called Game Chat, which is wild.
C for Game Chat.
Yeah, it's we don't actually know what the C means. Probably for chat.
Communication.
They didn't actually say. They're just like press the C button and it opens the Game Chat menu. Which, sure. So yeah, this lets you talk to people via voice in an interface that looks a hell of a lot like Discord, but isn't. You can also, and that's with the built-in microphone, by the way, which we didn't know about the Switch 2 previously, but it does have a built-in microphone.
To be fair, we did see the random hole on top of the console in that trailer, but nobody said, "Oh, that's going to be for a microphone."
Yeah, I guess assume everyone just assumed we'll pass that with Nintendo consoles.
Yeah. So yeah, it has the microphone, and it uses like NVIDIA Broadcast to do like sound reduction.
Sorry,
Noise
microphone.
reduction.
Clearly, because DS and 3DS have microphones built in.
Exactly.
There you go.
It's the only way to emulate them. So yeah, you can also share your gameplay with other people in the call. So you can have a call with up to 4 people, including yourself. You can video chat with an optional USB-C camera. But you can also use other cameras. It's not just Nintendo's camera. You can plug in any, standard WebView webcam, and it will work just totally fine. Some games will also have like it has like automatic background detection, again powered by NVIDIA Broadcast, that will allow you to play Kinect games essentially, or iToy games is probably a better comparison.
I can't wait for someone to connect an Elgato Cam Link with like a pro 4K camera. I want to see what this looks like.
Yeah,
I think it'll just have a little more less pixelation than this one.
But yeah, and then select games, which it seems to be all Switch 2 games, but select Switch games will let you just share the game over game chat. It's the details around this are confusing, but
the Mega Guide, I'd explained all that very clearly, and I brought it up just so I could reference it for here. So
yeah. So yeah, you can share your games. So like a multiplayer game, it's essentially DS download play. Like, let's be real, it's DS download play, but like much better. You can share games from Switch 2 to Switch, which I think is interesting because it means that you could dock your Switch and then stream your console to your Switch, essentially.
So he means dock Switch 2 and then stream console to Switch.
No. What I'm saying is you could put your Switch, like I have my Switch 1 attached, my Switch 1 dock attached up to my capture card right now. If I don't want to have to like swap them out and put my Switch 2 in there, I could just open up Game Share on my Switch 2, stream my gameplay to my Switch 1, and then it'll go into the capture card.
Yeah, but then you have twice as much latency.
And you'll have a big banner across the top of your screen saying "Did is sharing this game."
Would it though? Because like what they're using here is a version of the Wi-Fi Direct protocol that they used for the Wii U's gamepad. So they still own, that protocol. They have a patent on that. So they're using the same technology that they used for the Wii U gamepad for this game share feature.
Are you talking about locally or online?
Yes, locally. For the DS download play, they're doing a Wii U gamepad. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. No, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, because they've said that in the developer interview.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that you can do that with a Switch 1, and I could just stream my Switch 2 console, my Switch 2 gameplay to my Switch 1, and I don't have to change it out in the capture.
I mean, you can just try it, and we'll laugh at you. That's fine.
I mean,
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to know if enabling it will only be available in certain modes. Like you can't just like launch a game and just go download play and it just streams the game, you know what I mean? Or if you go to like the multiplayer menu, it enables like that game mode.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I'd imagine it'd be enabled on a game-by-game basis, because surely you would be able to do that on the eShop and then just remotely buy shit with someone else's.
Yeah, it will definitely need to be done inside of a game. I just don't know if it streams the entire game, or if it like I said, you go to the multiplayer menu and then it's like press the game share button, and then you can game share from that point onwards, and not just the entire game.
So Nintendo haven't specified, but there's 2 methods to this. There's share locally, which is essentially what Ollie's saying with like the Wii U stuff, and there's share online. At the moment, there's only 6 games that have announced for game share, and Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV, the full title, not to confuse people, but the full title is Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Jamboree TV. That one
rolls off the tongue.
So smooth. Like you could not convince me otherwise. That one will only just share locally. You will not be able to play that one across the internet. So we couldn't play that online the way that this system's set up for. But Big Brain Academy, Super Mario 3D World, 51 Worldwide Games, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and Super Mario Odyssey do allow for local and online sharing of games. So what modes in that did not said?
Yeah, there are some
Sorry.
third-party games as well, like the Fast Fusion allows you to do it locally and online as well.
Look, Shannon for
But,
some reason come out and they take advantage of every single thing the Nintendo platforms offer at launch, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Go back to game chat for a second. I know this. I don't know if I'm gonna get Chris. I don't fucking care. I'm sorry. The frame rate of that fucking shared video is too goddamn low. Like,
I don't mind it so much because the way that they showed it is that like you're playing the game and then peripherally you can
For
see other
sure.
people play it. So it's not too big
I
of a
think
deal.
that's the problem for me, though. I think peripherally that's very distracting for me personally.
Okay.
Like, I find that distracting as hell.
For me, right, is that like I often play games at the same time as my partner, and you know, it would be nice to just be able to like he'll send me like screenshots and shit, like, or just whatever as he's playing, right? If we like we both live in different houses, you know, if I'm playing a game and he's playing a game, it would be nice to just like chat and then see what each other are doing without having to like get our phones and like take it. Like, it has use case for us, and like the frame rate being higher does not impact that at all. But it would be nice if it was like
I'm not saying it needs to be like
5.
Yeah, it doesn't. I'm not saying it needs to be 60 or like 120 or like the exact quality that you're playing the game at, right? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I think 30 at a bare minimum is good.
Well, in the demo that they showed, like they only ever showed it with 3 other people as well. So maybe the frame rate degrades with those people. Maybe it's different when it's one other person. Maybe it is 30.
Yeah.
So
It could be. I feel like even with I don't know. I feel like video decoding is such a solved hardware problem. Like decoding 30 FPS videos at like 540p, whatever the hell they are in that tiny window.
Especially
like, surely that's not intensive.
Especially with NVIDIA hardware, they've definitely been on the ball with that kind of stuff.
Well, I think
like I can run like 14 4K 500 megabit videos on my computer at any moment. Like, it's not hard.
I think the reason for this is because, you know, Nintendo wants to keep their UI very, very lightweight, and part of the sacrifices of that is that like you can only do so much with the features within that. So like we know that the Switch One only had like 200 kilobytes of like memory that was like that's how much it needed. This is obviously much higher than that. So like the concept of like streaming and decoding for video streams at once while also like playing your game at the full like hardware level and being able to offer like other like voice processing and all of that stuff, like it's probably like it would be reaching the limit of what you can do within that budget set for the UI, right? Like for the system level, it would be. I still think it can be better. I think it should be better when there's only like one other stream, right? Like if it's just like me and my partner, right? Like there's no reason that shouldn't be 30 FPS, at least. So yeah, I mean,
just like
it will probably improve over time too. Like
I think, at least on my side of the internet, I don't think I've seen a single person watch that part of the video and not immediately say, "Oh, what the hell's up with that frame rate?" Every single person has said it. Like it's very jarring.
But I think like the use case of this is like, you know, a 11-year-old kid playing Fortnite with his friends. You know, like
totally.
That's what it is, and they're not really going to give a fuck at all.
I mean, we haven't talked about the fact that Fortnite's coming to Switch on day one. I'm kidding.
That's true. Fortnite is coming to Switch on day one.
I do want to point out, so game chat does, so there are limitations, right? So video chat and game share. Game share is where you stream your game and people see it down at the bottom. So we could all be playing Mario Party together and all see what we're doing. Or Ollie and I could be playing Mario Kart and Angelo could be playing Metroid and Michael could be playing Super Paper Mario, right? Mario Party 1000 Year Door. So we could all be playing different games. We all say that. That is 4 people maximum. Video chat is 4 people maximum, and voice chat is 12 people maximum. So there are some weird limitations on that. Again, it's all buried in the FAQs and help pages and all that. So it's not, they haven't been advertising this. So I just want to make sure people are aware of those limitations that Nintendo are putting in there. So
yeah. I think if we're doing the game share, right, and we're playing with four players, one console is sending out 3 video streams to other consoles at, I'm assuming, at least reasonable quality. Like, I don't think it's going to be like 540p at 2 FPS. I'm assuming it's going to be probably at least 1080-30, if not
So
60.
game share.
So
For game share specifically,
Mhm.
we've been seeing footage of that running Super Mario 3D World, which is not a 4K game in any way, shape, or form. But generally, when we see that, people are playing it in the footage. We see people playing it on their Switch itself, like Gen 1 Switch. So I imagine those screens are 720p max. So I don't think I think that's what they're aiming for, as like that's what they need to do, just to hit that Switch 1 limitation. So
I think it's all like Nintendo's never going to go into like the nitty gritty of it. Like it's just going to be testing when it actually comes out. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's a lot of the stuff that has been unspoken so far by Nintendo is like stuff that Nintendo would never talk about anyway. So we kind of just have to figure it out when it comes out.
They will talk about it. It'll be like 2 years from now at a GDC panel that they've not told anyone is happening. So, So with Game Share and Game Chat, you do need a Switch 2 to begin everything, but a lot of the stuff will work on Switch 2 to Switch 2 and Switch 2 to Switch. So that's probably one of the big things.
It does require NSO as well, at least after March. What is it? March 20? Yeah, next year.
My question is, how long until somebody gets the dick out on Nintendo?
Within the first 5 seconds of it being online.
So how long until like there's a scandal and then like every single news thing is like, oh, a family-friendly company is harboring pedophile. Like it's going to be like within week 1 for sure.
The TTP, time to penis, is like instant.
We saw it with Mario Odyssey. I will point out too, again, this is in the mega guide, but the parental controls do work. So if you do have a child that uses Switch on a family plan, they cannot start video chat or game share or gameplay share. It's weird. So game share is me sharing my game so we can all play together. Gameplay share is me sharing what I'm playing and you see what I'm playing. So there's 2 different things. And the name, unfortunately, is game share and gameplay share. Kids cannot, so under 16, they cannot start a video chat or share their game or gameplay without being approved by a parent in the Switch Parental Controls app. So hopefully that cuts off the T to P, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then you just hit the home button and then like launch game chat with like the adult account instead.
The vast majority of children do not have any parental controls on their Switch.
I'm aware of this.
That's not going to stop anything.
I'm playing devil's advocate there. The other thing too is Joy-Con. So all Switch 1 controllers will work on Switch 2. The only up outside the Joy-Con 2 and the Pro controller for Switch 2, the GameCube wireless controller, which we'll get to in a moment, has the C button on top. For everyone using Switch controllers, so Joy-Con, NES, Super Nintendo, N64, or Mega Drive controllers, those you'll have to go back to the home menu and there's a dedicated game chat button on the home screen that you'll have to go in to bring up the menu for muting and all that sort of stuff. So
I mean, also, just while we're on the topic of controllers, all Switch 1 controllers will work on Switch 2, but you won't be able to wake the console with Switch 1 controllers in Switch 2. You have to use a Switch 2 controller for that. Which, whatever. Angelo, what do you think of game chat? Are you gonna?
Yeah, man.
Are you gonna get your dick out on game chat?
Absolutely, I'm gonna get all of them out. Not even just mine.
Excellent.
No, it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. Sorry,
I can't wait. I can't wait for day 1. We're playing Mario Kart, and we're gonna personally time each of our TTPs.
No, I'm totally keen.
That's a question and a half, Ollie. Thank you for that.
That's amazing.
Things that, like pops into your head and you're like, I shouldn't say that, but I've already committed to it. So
that's all right. I don't teach kids anymore, so it's all good. But no, I'm totally down for this. It's something that we've been wanting and needing for a very long time. Just an actual viable chat functionality that spans the system itself, rather than just like game per game. I think it's a bit weird that
needing the mobile app.
Yeah, that too. I think it's weird that the default microphone is located in the system itself. But who knows? I mean, like, NVIDIA's tech on noise cancellation or just like suppression has been getting better somewhat, depending on the software that they're using. At least initially, it was quite stellar, and it just kind of got worse over time. But
unless you upgrade to the latest broadcast 2, and it's somehow worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. Whereas like the demo that they showed, is pretty good, and I'm sure Nintendo really,
Mhm.
doesn't want to release a bad version of this, considering they're finally putting
I
their
think
hat in the ring.
I think the noise cancelling stuff is the reason why the mic is on the console. I think if you had it
Yeah.
on the controller, you would need to compress it, and then it needs to go through whatever protocol they're using, and then that gets processed on the console. I think they just need the highest quality audio to get it to where it is.
But in saying that, we did see that the Switch Pro controller at least does have a headphone jack underneath, which means that they've, Nintendo's again finally stepping into the current generation. So you can plug in your own headset, presumably with a microphone, and chat that way as well. Which is a
I am
bonus.
worried
And it
about what
has-
that means for the battery life on the Switch 2 Pro controller, but I guess we'll see.
And it has under controller buttons.
Yeah,
It
it
does.
has
It does
paddles.
have back buttons,
paddles.
which
And they're not assigned to anything. You assign a button to them, which is great.
Yeah, I'm curious because I've got the 8-bit do Ultimate Bluetooth, whatever this thing is called. It's got back paddles as well, which I don't know if you can quite see on there.
Yeah.
But on the face, it's got 5 buttons in that center portion there. So I'm hoping that there'll be an update for the software that you can hook this up to a PC, download the firmware update, and then assign some of these buttons to the chat button or something like that. So that way I don't feel compelled.
8-bit do is
to have
pretty
to
good
buy-
with that stuff.
Yeah, so that way I don't feel
I've
compelled
seen
to have to buy a new
Sorry.
controller. And these also have Hall effect sticks for sure. So
Yeah.
because I do like this controller, I do want to keep using it, and it would be great to have it work with the Switch too.
I mean, it'll work with the Switch 2 regardless.
Oh, I just
It's
mean like
whether
it'll be
or not you have the
updated
game chat button.
and be feature compatible.
I do want to point
Yeah.
out, because I was diving into this again for the guide, the Joy-Con to left is 65.2 grams, and the Joy-Con to right is 68 grams because it has the NFC sensor.
Yeah.
So just because you're talking about Hall effects.
disgusting. I'm gonna feel that imbalance when I'm playing.
And battery life on Joy-Con 2 is marked at 20 hours, and it's 3.5 hours to go from fully flat to fully charged.
Mark was going to be playing his Switch 2 like this for his whole life, and
I'm
then
like, oh no!
and then we'll see a class action lawsuit in 6 years.
My right arm
Yeah.
injury from holding the controller like that.
It's like I can't even steer left anymore with motion controls in Mario Kart because I'm always hanging on the right.
While we're on the Joy-Cons, the Snap looks incredible. I cannot wait to do it. It looks and sounds amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's talking about when you attach the Joy-Con 2 to the Switch 2
Yeah,
console.
not snapping them in half.
He meant like
someone
cracking
might
it
get
over his head,
confused.
like a Taekwondo thing. Yeah.
What I think is cool, and it was somebody asked about it at the event that a whole bunch of folks went to, including Vooks himself, is that you can attach the Joy-Con upside down on the Switch 2. So the Joy-Con 2 on Switch 2. God damn it, Nintendo with their names. If you do that, it will like snap in place, but it will not work. So if you attach the left Joy-Con on the right side of the machine, it'll connect, but it won't actually work in game. Like it won't reorientate the system or anything like that.
No, like it'll still work as a controller. It just won't
Yeah.
charge or like be detected as connected to the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like it'll just be like
it'll be like you're putting in the grip itself.
It'll be a Bluetooth
Someone
controller.
is going to program their game that you have to do that, and it will detect it with the gyro that it's upside down.
okay,
And
but like hear me out. You know, Metal Gear Solid. If you're looking for something that's like really interesting to do with Psycho Mantis, that's the way to do it, right? Like
Bad Ollie. Don't put that out in the world.
oh, the ZR and ZL buttons being like substantially larger is sick as well, and they're made out of steel, I guess,
But also,
like some type of metal.
So not only
Yeah,
did
the steel.
did Nintendo revive their C button, whatever, for the game chat function, the back paddle buttons are G. What? Why are we at G now?
Yeah.
Z's taken, buddy.
What happened to
it's G.
D? Oh, we got the D-pad. What happened to E? What happened to F?
It's G for get the hell out of here now. Shut up. We've done what you asked.
I'm so confused.
Mhm.
I don't know why they went to G.
well, you know, C was already
it's
taken,
Nintendo.
which is what they were going to use. And, you know, they assigned C to the game chat feature, so obviously G has to be
But
for the
wasn't
back
it?
pedals.
But like, so they've got like ZL and ZR, and then L and yeah. Why don't they just put like ZB
They're the
for like
gamer
Z
buttons,
bottom?
Angelo.
I just
They're saving this. They're saving it for more face buttons in the future.
yeah.
They're the future planning.
I was going to say something, but I'm like, I'm not going to say that. That's going to be bad.
Well, like with the amount of buttons that we have that are named after specific letters, like you just in 20 years' time, we're just gonna have a full keyboard on this damn thing.
Yeah, probably. It'd be like that GameCube keyboard controller.
Hell yeah.
Just
Yeah,
has
let's
the
do
full
that.
keyboard.
Dreamcast one.
All right, let's talk about the biggest news. Michael will be really excited because finally he'll be able to play The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker on a Switch. Except it's not the HD version.
It's the absolute
This is-
monkey paw wish granted.
100%. This is the most cursed outcome of this whole thing. Like, it's great. Like, I'm gonna enjoy it. It's awesome, but holy shit, Nintendo! Like, what is happening?
It was
like-
so funny that was the game that they decided to show off as well. It's like, we know you've all been waiting for the Wind Waker.
100%.
Rudy.
Brilliant.
And the next game they showed was fucking F-Zero, and I'm like, God damn it! Actually, no, the next game was Soul Calibur. The one after that was F-Zero. But still, like, it's just this is exciting. It's
Right.
cool to finally have GameCube. Like, let's
So,
do it.
yeah,
And the
let's,
controller is amazing. Anyway, go.
Let's give some context because we're just talking about Wind Waker. Anyway, for Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack players, they will be able to play GameCube games via the Nintendo Classics service. It's had a nice little rebrand for the Switch 2. On Switch 2, there's also a wireless GameCube controller, which is very cool. That is coming. Yeah, they showed like Wind Waker, F-Zero, Soul Calibur 2 on that, and they also showed in the future games like Mario Sunshine, Pokemon Colosseum, and XD Gale of Darkness, Chibi Robo, Luigi's Mansion, etc. Will all be coming to the service as well. And the Nintendo 64 app is getting an update on Switch 2 as well, which will let you rewind and have a new CRT filter, which, you know, cool. But yeah, GameCube. I think it's really interesting that the Pokemon games are here because they're almost just like traditional Pokemon experiences, like Colosseum and XD Gale of Darkness. Like, they use the traditional battle system and, you know, have like full campaigns and stuff, and like, you know, you would normally be able to transfer Pokemon off them into main series games. So really interesting that they included those.
Well, but also what's
especially
interesting
when
is
some of the
yeah, but they're also like full Pokemon adventures, like you just say, and we haven't gotten any of those in the service at all. Like, not even like Gold and Silver or
Yeah.
anything like that. So that's actually really quite cool.
yeah, and they're really good games too. So I encourage everyone to play them when they eventually out. But
I think my dream for this, I want a lot of GameCube games in here, but it will be amazing if they allow you to play Four Sword Adventures on here, like without the GBA side. They hack it somehow that you can just control it. And I don't know, it'll be really interesting. I think
they could do the GBA side just fine. Just add it to the GBA app.
So in the footage that I'm showing right
yes,
now,
but I guess you'd need multiple consoles,
in the footage that I'm
just
showing
like
right
the original
now,
experience.
yes.
And then you could have that Discord feature up, and then you're good.
Yeah.
So in the footage that I'm showing right now, this is the Wind Waker part. But before this, in the treehouse, they had Four Swords playing with the game share gameplay showing. So the Discord view. So people were playing, and you could see their action happening on the bottom of the screen, and then the person who was player one or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know Four Swords was on there. Interesting. Wait, Four Swords, the Game Boy game or
the Game Boy one? Yeah.
Ah, right. Sorry, I thought you meant GameCube one.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, this is the Monkey Paws version of getting Four Swords playing the way it was designed initially. But yeah, I don't know.
But also, people want Tinkle Tuner in Wind Waker, so
Yeah. I will say the interesting thing that I saw with this is that the Switch GameCube app on Switch 2 will do slight up resolution of select games as well. I haven't said games or anything like that, but it's there, which is
It'll
nice.
probably do it for most of them. Like, the same thing is true of the N64 app, which currently like renders all games at 1080p, which actually has issues in some games. But
I think that's why they were like select games, because they don't want to be like every game, and then you get a game that looks horrible.
It would be absolutely insane if F-Zero had an update to it where it unlocked the frame rate and then your Switch just melts. just catches fire.
Your frame rate matches the speed of your racer. It's 2000 FPS.
You just lightly press the accelerator, it just rolls at 10 frames per second.
We've already seen on the N64 app that like some games have improved frame rate, so that could be a thing on GameCube as well.
Yeah.
Look, I was a negative
'cause
Nancy
it's
about the
probably-
GameCube games coming to Switch 2, I admit, but seeing this was actually quite a good surprise. I'm actually quite happy with it, and again, it just kind of reinforces like how, to me, looking back, that the NSO subscription price when it first came out, the value was not the same as it is right now, and it just keeps getting with better with value. And I'm just like, it's great, but at the same time, it's just like, okay, so if it's great now, like, what's it going to be like in 5 years' time? In that case, it just kind of confuses me.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be more expensive.
That is true. It will get more expensive.
The two things that I saw, again, because they're showing F-Zero now, is that it does support the widescreen mode. So he goes into the settings. It's literally happening as I say here, and putting on widescreen, and it gets rid of the bars off the side. And I'm happy that the game, if a game supports widescreen, it does go widescreen. But it's like most of the GameCube games do offer widescreen mode. So it should be in the app where I can say, hey, if this game has widescreen, make it widescreen. Not have to go in every single game and set it manually. I'd have preferred they did something that made that possible. So that's cool. The other thing too, again, get rid of the grey bars off the side of the screen. We've been saying that since the service launched and the first NES games were shown. These random dots.
Genuinely don't know. I don't understand why they're so attached to it. Like, I really don't. It makes no sense at this point.
Sorry, I just going back a little bit. I just realized that like the fact that we have a VRR screen now means that like PAL versions of retro games will actually be way more playable. And I mean, the GameCube was the first console in Australia, at least, to support PAL 60. So there will be a bunch of games that are way better to play the PAL versions now instead of the NTSC versions. Because,
and the GameCube
the
app
almost always had improvements.
Yeah, the GameCube app will also let you download both the American and the European versions, so you can pick which one you want.
Yeah.
Oh, on that point, actually, this is what you brought up last podcast, Ollie. It looks like all the games are just in the one app, and you just download the entire bundle.
Yeah, you just download the
Nintendo
whole app.
confirmed it. Which
I
get why,
because
it's
heavy.
But it's like at the same time, it's like this shouldn't be a thing. If your game's
look, 1/4 of your storage is taken up by the GameCube app.
Yeah. I think the GameCube app was 4 gig or something from the thing we saw the other day, like 3.5, 4 gig.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think most of those
like,
games are probably almost full disc. Maybe Soul Calibur's probably not, but F-Zero GX and Zelda are definitely probably almost full disc size.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a chance. I think we spoke about this previously, but there's definitely a chance to bring those file sizes down quite a lot, because a lot of the reason that they are as big as they are is because of redundancy from disk reading and all of that. So like,
yeah, 100%. Like, you don't need to have all the dead space. Like, if they're just using the 1.5 gig ISO files, that's insane. Just you trim that data out. It does not need to be like that.
Here's a question. Michael got his wish fulfilled by finally getting Wind Waker on the Switch now.
Excuse me. Do not complete my wish for me. My wish is not fulfilled.
I mean, what is a GameCube game we would all love to see on the Switch GameCube app? I personally would love it if Star Wars Rogue Squadron came to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
that would be super sweet.
That would be beautiful.
I would
notoriously hard to emulate, so I'll be intrigued to see what Nintendo does there.
Yeah. I would like the 2005 licensed game Robots, based on the hit film Robots by DreamWorks Animation.
Look,
that was the first GameCube game that I ever played. So I would just like to revisit that. If
there are a heck of a lot of licensed games that would make, like a lot of them are Disney and DreamWorks and stuff. Like that'd be kind of surreal. Like, you know, a new update comes out and all of a sudden you get, you know, Incredibles, Rise of the Underminer, and Finding Nemo, and you know.
Oh, sorry, my bad. It's actually from 20th Century Fox Animation. I thought it was DreamWorks, but it's actually from the people who made Ice Age. So
it's now a Disney property.
Yeah, so exactly. Disney, get on it.
One main answer, and second one just because I'm intrigued about how this would work. One, I think an amazing game to have on there would be Beach Sparkers from Sega. I think it's an incredible game. It's awesome. I wish everyone could experience it. The second one, just for licensing, I would love to see if we could get something like Crazy Taxi on there. Like, if you have the GameCube Crazy Taxi, does that come with the music licensing?
No, that would have to
like. Is that just?
We saw it with
how it works.
Wave Race on 64. They took out the Kawasaki branding and stuff. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. There you go. Well, then not Crazy Taxi. Fuck that.
Like, I agree with Angelo. Star Wars Rogue Squadron, would love to see it. But easiest game ever, Eternal Darkness.
Who even owns that anymore? I don't think. Yeah, that's in some type of like limbo hell, probably. Like,
No, Nintendo.
That'll be amazing.
Yeah, Nintendo.
They
Nintendo.
trademarked
Do they
it.
own it?
Yeah, they re-trademarked it a couple of years ago.
Okay, live the dream then.
I would also like the 2003 game Bionicle the Game by Argonaut Game. Genuinely, these are the games that I remember fondly from the GameCube era. Like, I didn't play, like, I played Pokemon and I played like shitty licensed games that I got at Video Easy. That was what I played on GameCube. You know, Bratz Rock Angels, would love to see that. Buffy the Vampire Slayer Chaos Bleeds,
Buffy game
actually
would be
a
good.
really good game.
Yeah.
You know, these are the things that I played. So all of those, please. They're all licensed and impossible.
So if you want to talk about non-licensed and possible games, the Prince of Persia trilogy from Ubisoft. Sands of Time, Warrior Within, Two Thrones.
Oh, you know what would be sick? Sorry,
Wario Within. So that's what I heard.
No, I'm just looking at the list of GameCube games on Wikipedia, and the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games would be a really good addition.
Oh my god! I asked one game. I didn't ask to list the entire GameCube.
The problem that you have, Ollie, is that Bandai Namco always took 12 months to port their games from other consoles to Switch, and the other one's only been out for a year, so it'll come to Switch 2 at some point, and they won't release old ones if they can make money on new ones.
You never know.
Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes.
Yeah, Twin Snakes.
Twin Snakes is stuck in some type of like limbo hell, or Beautiful Joe as well.
I was thinking Beautiful Joe as well. That'd be my backup, or even just straight up Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, even the whole Resident Evil series, like all the Resident Evil 1 remake is sick on there. Resident Evil 0, and then the ports of 2 and 3 and Code Veronica.
I could see one or two of those coming eventually, probably in a couple of years or something. But
I think the launch titles, like the Wind Waker, F-Zero, and Soul Calibur, 10 out of 10. All absolute banger games. Like Soul Calibur, it's the only fighting game that I've completed the campaign mode of. I absolutely loved it so much. There's a level in there that's like bullshit hard. I had to play with Link, and I drew the character to the edge of the stage, and just Link has this amazingly cheap roll move where he grabs someone and rolls and throws behind them. So in Soul Calibur, you don't have an edge to the stage on a ton of stages.
Yeah.
So you just get to the edge, grab him, and just yeet the character off the side, and the instant win, and it's beautiful.
You cheesed it. That's fine. I honestly was surprised when I saw that Soul Calibur was A, in it, and B, was a launch game. Like the fact that it's like just a whole bunch of Nintendo properties. You know, that's sort of surprised me. But I don't know. I'm happy that it's there. I'd like to see them announce more games quicker for GameCube. I know there's not a heap of games, but it's like
I assume this is how we get Prime 2.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah. I think the question is like, are we going to get Twilight Princess as well?
Oh, I guess if we got Zelda, if we got Wind Waker, why not? But like, I don't know if this is like a coffin in the dream of the HD versions or not.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to say really.
But also, like,
because they could put like the original Metroid Prime on there as well, right? Like,
but I want to make the argument as well.
I want
to make the argument as well that Twilight Princess on GameCube wasn't the one that most people played. It was the Wii one.
It is the correct one though.
Sure, but the Wii one is the one that most people will have played. Like a vast majority of people will have played. So and that brings us to my second question: does this mean that eventually we will get a Wii app? How the hell do we do that?
The Switch 2 could definitely do it, except for the controller. That's the thing you have to do.
So many games required pointer controls. Not all of them. We can get past with not all of them.
Although
if you use the mouse, actually, yeah.
To give Michael some hope on his HD ports of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, Paper Mario was remade for Switch, but it also exists inside the N64 app. So
True. There you go. Oh man, Paper Mario on Switch 2, unlocked frame rate, solve everyone's problem.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's actually true. Yeah.
2004's Power Rangers Dino Thunder. That was a banger.
Right, I think we need to stop Ollie. He's no longer allowed to suggest games that get added because if we get Power Rangers before we get Rogue Squadron,
Oh my god!
Like, I
coming for
actually
you.
want to commit a crime right now.
I'm
Veronica?
very excited for the wireless
First
controller.
email?
Like, legitimately, it's you finally have a wireless GameCube controller that has rumble, and it's the first controller in a long time that has analog control, analog sticks from analog. Oh my god, my brain is turning
Triggers.
off. Shoulder buttons.
Yeah.
Thank you. From Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just
they have
really
to custom make these bad boys. Like, what was the last time someone had to make a analog trigger with a digital button at the end of it? That's like, they got to spin that factory up.
See, now I'm slightly annoyed, more than slightly, because I got the stupid 8-bit do Frankenstein kit and broke open the GameCube controller and made that wireless. Went out of my way to go buy.
I mean, you can just revert that though, right?
Absolutely, I can. Yeah, and I don't really care because
Yeah.
I went out and bought that controller, but it was an Orange Spice one,
Yeah, cool.
and I could have just gotten that and given it to Luke, and it would have lived a much happier life than just sitting in a drawer at the moment.
I know the
Oh,
chances
so-
of us getting different color controllers are 0,
Yeah, no.
but it would be sick if we got a Spice one.
Well-
Spice is the best.
Hopefully, I don't know how it would go with the cable hole, but I wonder if the molds are exactly the same and people can just do something and replace the shells.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
We already know that they're not the same.
because of
They're
all
not?
the extra
They
buttons.
have like a bit of
and-
a bump on the back and then extra buttons, like the C button on the top. And
Just gotta have a
USB-C
battery
port
somewhere.
and-
Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah. Another one. Sorry, I'm just gonna keep bringing up games until we move on.
I mean, I was
Let's
going to
move
move
on.
Legend of-
All right, let's move on right now.
No, I genuinely have a question, right? Is like there are a whole bunch of games because Activision was like huge on the GameCube. They put out so many games, but now that's owned by Microsoft. Like, is something like The Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning, or like that trilogy? Like, do you think we could see those come over? Like,
Yeah,
there's a
maybe.
lot of like being in like the GameCube PS2 era opens up like a lot of like really strange games that the rights have moved around a lot and mostly are with Microsoft now. But like, is Microsoft gonna do that?
I mean, to give Ollie some much needed perspective on something, the fact that he hasn't mentioned this game is honestly criminal for him. Mario Kart Double Dash, because
Oh, I mean, I just assume that's coming. You know what would be good though is Serious Sam Next Encounter, which was a console-only version of Serious Sam that was never ported to
Oh.
any other console.
Time Splitters 2?
yeah, Time Splitters 2
Yeah.
and 3 because they were on Game.
The
Time
Shrek 2
Splitters,
video game, which was pretty good.
which I mentioned before. So there's a lot that they could do.
There's a lot, yeah.
I personally, I just want them to start being a little more open with saying, hey, these games coming over the next 6 months, and not what they've done with this lineup and say, oh, you know, these games are coming soon. It's like, yeah, cool. You said that with 64, and it took almost a year for us to get the last one in that list. And I get why they do it because it's hype. Like, you know, oh, this is still to come. I best stay connected. But it's like there's a whole way you can do it, and this is just not. I don't like it. I really wish that they just.
Oh shit, Sonic Adventure. Sorry. Sonic
Sonic Adventure's
Adventure,
solid.
Sonic
Yeah.
Heroes,
First good game you've
Sonic
mentioned.
Riders.
Super Monkey Balls?
Oh,
You can't say first good game you've mentioned. You've played any of the other games. You haven't even fucking seen footage of Bionicle the game.
I-
Fuck off.
I have
Angelo,
no
I
interest
want your
whatsoever.
review of the Bratz game right now.
Oh god.
I'll move the conversation on just so we can get off the
Yeah,
graphic
let's
stuff.
do it.
These two.
But I want to talk about just some of the other things that were in the direct, like Street Fighter 6 coming is fantastic because
Mm.
it's extra sport. One, it's a key card game, which is weird. You know, if CD Projekt Red can release Cyberpunk on a card, like a full game on the card, I don't know why Capcom won't do it with Street Fighter. But that's coming day one. Money. But that's coming day one. But Kunitsugami, it was in the montage, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, which is their sort of real-time tactical game, is also coming day one on Switch 2. And I'll throw it up here in the video, but there are new Street Fighter amiibo and amiibo cards coming for Street Fighter 6, which is insane. And the amiibo themselves are massive compared to the Ryu and Ken Smash amiibo that we have, because those Smash amiibo are compatible with Street Fighter 6 as well. They just let you unlock extra costumes and transfer data from your game to a friend's game, stuff like that. Nothing too special.
They also look really
We
cool.
Yeah, they look
we
amazing.
quickly touch on backwards compatibility.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So Modern Vintage Gamer put out a video yesterday. A little bit of a humble brag, but whatever. He was right, so it's fine. But it was in one of the developer articles where they basically confirmed that they're doing a little bit of a weird hybrid software / hardware emulation for Switch games, because as was correctly assumed, the Switch 2 hardware isn't process compatible with Switch 1 games. So it'd be really intriguing to see how the backwards compatibility lands. But it seems from the list that we've gotten, it seems to be quite good. But I will say a large amount of that list, in the graph at the top, a large amount of that is the game started, we're testing it. So it'd be interesting to see where that lands with actual compatibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's kind of like, it's a translation layer, right? It's the same way that, like, on...
Well, that's what we're assuming.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they alluded to in the...
Yeah, it's what they're implying, but didn't, it annoyingly, much like most Nintendo things, did not explicitly say.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely say it's not just like, it's not like software emulation, so there is like some kind of translation layer going on, right? Like, so yeah, it is interesting, but like, I don't know. I feel like it will probably be like 99% of the way there. There'll be like edge cases, of course, right? Like,
yeah,
but when they're like, with the ones that they've identified that like do have problems, right? Because there is a bunch that they've identified have problems. When they figure out how to fix those problems, that will probably fix problems in like 20 other games, right? So each game that they fix between now and launch is going to solve a lot of problems for other developers. It could also create problems.
Yeah. And I assume this will also probably evolve over time as well. Like, I think that'll just improve. A lot of the games that are listed in that PDF, which are like, these games do not work, like, period. A lot of those games are games that use emulators to run other games. So, which makes a lot of sense in a translation layer, like, type of deal.
Yeah. There's only one confirmed game that won't work on Switch 2, and that's Nintendo Labo for the VR one. And that's quite simply because the Switch 2 will not fit inside the VR case shell cardboard thing. Because
you could still like launch it, but like
but you can't take full advantage of what it's supposed to be played like. So and then they were like, these games will work on Switch 2 fine, but you need an additional controller to play because they take advantage of the IR sensor on the right Joy-Con, which is not obviously in Switch 2. So I look, as long as the games that I go back to every now and again will load fine, I'll be fine with it. I don't think anyone's going to go back and play AAA Clock, Australia edition anytime soon on their Switch 2. And if that shit starts popping up on Switch 2 as like, oh, we've remastered it for Switch 2, I'm going to get angry. But yeah, I think they're doing okay with it. Only time will tell, I suppose.
Total side note on AAA Clock, they showed off a quick video on the performance of the eShop. Oh my god, I'm so happy. Like, it's such a small thing, but like, it looks like it's actually usable.
Where was that? I missed that. I need to see that.
Oh, I'll find the video. It was on
It's in one of the developer Q&As.
Yeah, it looks like it looks completely smooth. Like, you click a button and things happen immediately.
Yeah.
If you hit up, things move up.
Yeah.
It has a discovery feed as well, where it'll just like show you like a short intro video about a game, and then give you a little bit of details about it, which is nice.
So I will ask this of you all then. Outside of the games we've already talked about from Nintendo, what third-party game or indie game in the partner spotlights or the montage did you see and go, oh yeah, now that's coming to this platform, I might give it a go, or hey, that looks really cool, I'm going to play that. So what non-Nintendo game?
Move entirely onto that, Hollow Knight Silksong confirmed coming this year.
Look, it was confirmed for 2019,
how that was literally just an additional game in the pile of games. Yeah. Like, that's crazy how far that game has fallen. That was like headlining directs in the past, and now it's just like, hey, this game's coming out maybe.
The expectations on that game are astronomical at this point.
Yeah. I don't think it can ever live up to whatever people say.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's not.
Sorry.
Yeah, in terms of third party game, yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, Luke, can you just quickly just rephrase that question? I kind of got lost in what you were saying.
Oh, just like what other game from the Direct, mostly like non-Nintendo, but what other game in the Direct caught your eye and you're like, I have to play that one.
Cool. Sorry, Ollie. Go
on. Like I think Yakuza 0 Director's Cut is a really interesting one. Not only because it looks really good and it has additional content, and I've never really played through Yakuza 0, but also because it's been confirmed to be running at a native 4K 60. Which
it also like the new content is there's new story cutscenes to expand and fix some story beats, but it also comes with, and I can't believe I'm saying this, a 60-player online mode where you and 59 other players need to combine your fighting prowess to defeat hordes of enemies.
Yeah. Which Sega really just like took the assignment and ran with it, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, we've got new powerful hardware, like let's just fucking do it.
And I was gonna say the fact that it wasn't a Sonic game, but Sega announced afterwards that Sonic Generations X Shadow, whatever the fuck that thing's called from last year, is coming to Switch too. So
yeah. I mean, I think there's a few games that I will play on Switch 2 definitely rather than Switch 1. I mean, if it's coming to both, I'm definitely going to play on Switch 2 when it comes out because, you know. But like, you know, No Sleep for Konami Date is something that I was very excited about in the last Direct. No chance I'm playing that on Switch 1 when I could just wait for Switch 2.
I mean, it's out after the console launches, so you're fine there.
Is it? I thought it was like May or something, but
no, June 19 or something.
Oh, okay, cool. Same with like Rido Remastered. It's going to be great on Switch 2. Let me just look. I mean, a new Hyrule Warriors game. That's going to be fun. It's not running at like 20 frames a second now. So.
Well, we hope it's not running at 20 frames a second. You know, even the most recent one they just launched on PS5, and that has some performance hiccups occasionally. So,
yeah. There's a new Daemon X Machina. I'm excited for that. As like one of the 4 people that played the original game.
I played the original game.
That's launch day, yeah?
No, September 5.
Oh, September. I thought it was launch.
No. So we knew that game was coming. So the first one was a Switch exclusive for the longest time, and then it got ported to PC and then the other platforms. And then this one was announced a while ago as a sequel to it, but Nintendo Switch was not included in that. So this was like a reveal that it's coming to Switch 2, and the first gameplay for it as well. We hadn't actually seen anything of it until this trailer. So
Survival Kids is coming back.
Yeah. So a Konami game. They've been on this weird streak lately where they just keep announcing games out of nowhere and nobody realizes that it's them.
Yeah.
So
they've been doing that for years, just people just didn't pay attention until, you know, recently. Konami has been like a very prolific game developer for a long time now.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll necessarily play these on Switch, but I'm very intrigued to see what they're like. I'm intrigued to see what Elden Ring is like on Switch 2. That's going to be quite interesting. I think the same thing can be said about Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Or to see how that works. Split Fiction should be interesting. I saw the footage of that on the Direct. And I know obviously they must have only been working on it for like 5 seconds. Yeah. It looked a little rough, a little low res, but I'm assuming that's like they just got the dev kit yesterday.
Well, Joseph Ferris said on Twitter that like they have only just started development on it, and it will be a lot.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, 100%. And there's that new From Software game that's exclusive to Switch 2, Dustbloods,
not Bloodborne.
They're not Bloodborne.
I will say this, and I say it with great pleasure. The amount of From Software weebs that have wept online and bitched and moaned about the fact that it's on Switch 2. It's like, shut up, you whiny sacks of shit. It's if you want to play a game, play it on the platform it's on. Right? I get if you hadn't planned on buying Switch 2. Oh well, suck it up. How many games
exclusive
have
From
Nintendo
Software
fans?
game? Yeah. An exclusive From Software game that's multiplayer is an incredible pull for Nintendo Switch.
Well,
absolutely amazing.
The creator's voice that came out yesterday. So Miyazaki, they did an interview like they do with Iwata Asks, and he basically said they went to. So this is not Nintendo going to them, but From Software went to Nintendo and pitched a very, very bare bones version of this game, and Nintendo said, "Hey, we've got a Switch 2 coming. How about you make it for that?" And they said, "Yeah, done." So it's not like Nintendo said, "Hey, can you make us an exclusive game to annoy people?" It's no, From Software went to Nintendo. So,
Oh, I think it's great. I'm never gonna play it, but like a PvPvE like extraction Souls-like is such a fucking weird thing to do, and I'm glad that it exists on Switch too.
they've got Elden Ring, Night Rain coming out in like 6 weeks as well, which is a very similar concept, but just in the Elden Ring world.
Probably, yeah. That's like a survival roguelike thing. But yeah, I think that will also probably come to Switch 2 eventually as well. It sort of depends on how big it's going to be. I kind of feel like Night Rain is going to flop, but we'll see how it goes. Angelo, what are you excited for on Switch 2?
So specifically the third-party ones. I mean, does Professor Layton count as third-party? I'm totally in for that one. That looks like a whole 100%. Fun.
That's gonna be sick.
I'm trying to look at the list here, and there's not a whole lot because a lot of them are available elsewhere. Like Deltarune, for example, it kind of interested me a little bit, but then I remember that I've got the first 2 on Steam Deck that I still haven't played yet. Enter the Gungeon 2, sure, looks like fun. But the one that's first party that has me interested, that I know I'm never going to play because it costs money and it absolutely shouldn't, is that Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome to a game.
100%.
I looked at that and I'm like, this actually looks really cool. This looks like a lot of fun. And they're like, you can buy it. And I'm like, nope.
I think this might be the biggest L on that entire presentation. Like, it looks cool and it looks neat, but why the fuck is it paid?
Nope.
Like,
no
just
idea.
Especially when they are charging so little for it as well. So the price in Japan is like 990 yen. So it's like 10
Yeah,
bucks.
Totally. Like, just give it away for free.
Just give it away.
I will.
Who the fuck cares?
I will say this just to be devil's advocate, but I suspect it's because they did a Treehouse segment on it, and there is a lot of mini games in it. There are tech demos. Yes, we've seen that little dank meme that's out there of the price point from the sound thing. So we've seen a few bits on it, and I suspect it's probably just because there's so much in terms of actual like mini games in there that they want to do it for whatever reason.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I genuinely don't care.
I'm not doing it. I just think it's hilarious that PlayStation 5 launched with Astro's Playroom and Nintendo's launching Switch 2 with Mario's Classroom.
Astro's Playroom is a full-fledged game,
Yep.
a proper game that was an incredible tech demo to introduce people to the new controller.
But even Nintendo Land.
This,
Nintendo
Land's another good example.
But that was also really cool, like really great, feature-rich, and was multiplayer. But
yeah, I mean, I think we're beyond the age of the pack-in game. I think it's just something we have to accept now that pack-in games aren't really a thing anymore. Like, they might come. Like, I don't think the PS6 is going to have one. Honestly, I do not think when the PlayStation 6 comes out, it will have one.
Probably not. But I think the comparison's particularly poignant on this one because they're both doing the same thing, which is
for sure
teaching people about how the console works. Right.
Well, to be fair, the Astro's Playroom teaches you about like, the controller can vibrate and rumble. It's like, cool. This one's like, did you know that the magnets are in the Switch and they're on? And so it's like,
for sure, it's a little. I was actually counter that. Playroom has all of that in it. It literally breaks down the entire console and how it works. Like, it shows you everything. So it's it does it. It's more gamified as this. Yeah, for sure. But it's all there.
But also, this is called.
I think
this game, whatever you want to call it, is called the Welcome Tour. Like, you would presume that it would be something that would be built into the system with the words welcome and tour in it. And then they're like, no, this is $15, $15 to $20 entry. So, what?
Yeah, it's just.
I think
it's
another
just
one
odd.
that like would have like potentially been a good pack-in would be that Drag X Drive game.
Mm-hmm.
That one 100% should have been backed in. Not.
I mean, I think it looked
not
good.
to be mean about
We
it
know
or
who
anything.
made that.
It's an internal product.
Well, is it internal? Because they haven't really said, and we thought that like Snipper Clips was internal until it wasn't.
One of the
Rest in peace, Snipper Clips.
In the Treehouse presentation, they talked about it and they said that it was made.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean that looks interesting, but like probably doesn't have a lot of longevity.
Yeah, it says a really, really big ARMS energy to it.
Yeah. Speaking of, ARMS is getting an update on Switch too, so that's fun.
Which is hilarious that they haven't touched that game in years now. I will say I do think it's great that Borderlands 4 is coming to Switch too, just because all the other Borderlands are already on Switch. So you can sort of.
It looks good too.
Yeah.
In the trailer, like visually, I mean, obviously the gameplay, whatever. and had to see fucking Randy's face, which definitely was a negative.
Yeah, he's a big
fucking,
L
like,
around that.
The Randy jump scare halfway through the direct was like Jesus.
So
what I
the fact
liked
that
is
that's
that the US direct just like fucking froze on something for like.
Well, that's what I was watching. See, I was telling you guys that there was like a weird delay.
Oh, the audio delay.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
and I was
watching,
like, it's not delayed on mine.
Yeah,
I was watching the Australian stream though.
Yeah, I didn't know there was specifically an Australian one. I just looked up Nintendo live stream direct, blah, blah, whatever it was called, and then I just clicked on the first one that was from the Nintendo account. And so yeah, but from the get-go, there was a weird like 1.5 second delay in the audio. And then yeah, halfway through, like when they were introducing that, what is it, something kids?
Survival Kids, yeah.
Survival Kids, yeah, it just
yeah.
cut out. I'm like, what is going on? And then I jumped to I jumped onto IGN's quickly to see what was going on. And they were watching it live and they're like, what is happening? Why is this frozen? I'm like, oh damn. And then you guys are like, it's totally fine. I don't know what you're talking about. And then I found
the Australian one was totally fine, yeah.
Bizarre.
I forgot to
was
say
actually
as
watching the
well,
US one, but yeah, it
when I went to my TV and started the stream, I was immediately excited when I saw the stream was in 4K 60. I was like, oh boy, here we go. There's no reason Nintendo would have done this if there wasn't 4K content.
Yeah.
I was very, very, very surprised.
All right.
I just want to point out one more game that was in the direct, and that's Madden, because the last Madden game that Nintendo got was Wii U at launch, and it never left North America. So Nintendo fans, especially globally, if you're a Madden fan, you haven't had a Madden game since like 2009 on the Wii or 2010 on the Wii.
Okay,
So
you can say American. Globally, it's America. America cares about Madden.
Yeah.
Although surprisingly, a large amount of people in Australia do buy those games. I don't know why.
I suspect
Maybe it's just because they don't make any real football games.
I honestly think it's just because it's a very chess type of game. You got to think about plays and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's why, because it's not just press a button and hope for the best. So
as we know, chess players absolutely love American football.
The disrespect in Ollie saying real football and knowing that he meant AFL and not like soccer.
We don't really get soccer games either.
What are you talking about? We
Like,
get
I don't give a fuck
FIFA, we
about
get
AFL.
EAFC. We got
Okay,
the biggest
on
soccer games in
Switch,
the world.
though, on Switch though, we
Oh,
get
no one
like,
cares about Switch.
like horrible.
What podcast
yeah,
is
that's
this?
what I'm saying, right? We're talking about Switch.
no, we had the Legacy Edition for the longest time, and then we went back to proper, updated releases.
I assume we'll probably hopefully get proper EAFC games. Yeah.
So before we wrap up the pod, we're not doing 20 questions today because we've been talking for 2 hours. We are going to go over our what we predicted just before in the last episode, as for our price and date and games and all of that, and see who got it right. I think some of us did quite well. Some of us not so much. So in terms of price, me and Michael were on the money. I said $700, and that was exactly it.
To be fair, you were 5 cents over.
Yeah. I mean, per what is it? Price is Right rules. That means I'm out. So unfortunately, Michael, you're the winner. So yeah, you said 679 to 699, which obviously was in that point. Angelo, you said 650. Obviously a little bit higher.
That would have been lovely.
That would have been lovely, but I would have paid anything regardless. Luke, you said 729, which is over, but also I paid more than that because I got the bundle. So within the window at least. In terms of release date, I said early June, which it obviously is. Michael said June on a Friday or Thursday, which
it's classic Nintendo.
One of those things.
To be fair, Michael said early June or late June, and I just went, June's fine.
Angelo said June,
that is the same sentence, really.
Angelo said June, July, September, which is
he's correct.
I mean,
correct.
I don't get the points, but
No. I guessed either somewhere around like the American summer or the beginning of release season, which is September.
Yeah.
And then Luke, you said June 6th, which so close.
That's
I love that.
so brutal.
No, I would give that to him. My argument being that his June 6th here in Australia is June 5th in America. So he is actually dead on.
I'm happy to give it to him just because he's the only one of us that guessed like an actual date, and that's ridiculously close.
And to be fair, who knows if I said 5th or 6th, because they sound very similar. You know.
Oh,
they don't.
definitely.
They share
You
one letter
wrote
the
this
same.
form, Luke. You were the one that put June 6 on here.
I know.
Yeah.
Phonetically identical. Like I don't understand how we can mix that up.
Yeah, he just goes to the
Um,
bank. He's like, "Can I have $5 or $6 million?" Like they're both identical. It doesn't matter which one. I'd say he gets
Day
that
one
one.
games. All of us except Luke said Mario Kart. Now we don't know for sure that Metroid Prime isn't a launch day title because they haven't given us a release date
Yeah,
for Metroid
it's weird
Prime
that they
4.
haven't committed to even a window on that one.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
what's
I'm
weirder-
assuming at
That's
Sorry,
a-
I'm assuming at this point, if it was a launch title, they would have
they'd
said
have
it
announced it.
by now.
100%.
What's weird about it is Pokemon ZA in the Nintendo Switch 2 editions listings and all that, they said spring 2025, which is November, which is usually when Pokemon games come out. But for Metroid, it just says 2025 still, so they've still not nailed down a window for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you also said Mario Kart would come 6 to 8 weeks later, which is not the case.
I mean, I was right on the game coming 6 to 8 weeks later. I was just wrong on the game itself. So
I think saying a game will come out 6 to 8 weeks after a console launches is like the safest bet you could possibly make.
I was just
But,
like they did it with Switch. They launched with Zelda, then like 6 weeks later we got Mario Kart. So, but to be fair, if I had to said Donkey Kong game 6 weeks after the Switch launch, you'd have all looked at me like I was crazy. So
Yeah, legit.
Third party on day one, I said Elden Ring within the first 12 months. I was correct. Michael said GTA 5 didn't happen. Angelo did not give an
Yeah, I
answer.
didn't have an
apparently.
answer. I don't even remember that.
yeah, no, you just sort of skipped over it.
Okay, cool.
I think
Luke
because you got into
said-
the talking about GTA, people wanted GTA 6 on Switch too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's just give the points to Angelo. You know, you got it, man. 100% correct.
No games coming out.
It's true.
You can't be wrong if you don't say anything, right? So yeah, and then Luke, you said Forza Horizon 5, which I'm sure will still come, but
Probably.
yeah, not at launch. And new Nintendo Switch Online, I said DS or 3DS. I still think it's coming, but we'll see. Michael said GameCube, F-Zero confirmed, which, you know,
He also made the
100%.
joke about this is how he'll get Wind Waker on Twitch. So
Yeah, I would sort of point out that this. I'm happy I was right. Maybe I don't know.
Angelo said Nintendo DS, with, you know, a weird hinge thing that did not happen. And Luke also said GameCube.
and I said specifically because I want them to release a controller because of the patent. And Ollie said, "Oh, I wouldn't trust that patent." So
No, I wouldn't trust that patent because it's a vague patent and people read into patents all the time.
yeah,
GameCube was always a possibility. I just don't think the patent that showed a sticker that could maybe be in the same spot as a sticker that could exist on a GameCube controller is really much evidence that GameCube is coming to Switch.
Hey, I got the point, so I'm okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we were pretty on the money. I think Nintendo is somewhat predictable in these regards, or at least with the Switch 2, we could kind of vibe out how much we were expecting it to cost and when it would come out. So, yeah. This has been a very long episode, so we are going to wrap it up there, so we can, you know, see our families before we die. Not that we're dying anytime soon, but
I'm assuming like we've
nice.
we've forgotten and missed so much stuff.
We probably
I feel like
have.
in my
Yeah.
brain I had like a list of like 20 million things to talk about, and I'm assuming we've missed so much shit, but whatever.
Yeah, probably. But either way, we're going to wrap it up. Be sure to visit the site, Vookcast.au, for all your Nintendo news, reviews, and everything in between. Keep up to date. Follow the site on Blue Sky, which is at Vookcast.net, or jump on over to our Discord at bit.ly/Vookcast Discord. A lot of people are talking about Switch 2 stuff, so if you want to talk about Switch 2 stuff, that's where you can do it. You can find all of our social information and links for all the stories covered in this episode in the episode notes on whatever platform you're listening to. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you in the next show. Alrighty, are we good to go then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My body is ready.
Oh.
This may be one of the most positive podcasts we have in a long time.
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah, no. I've got complaints, but like,
I can be the biggest negative Nancy in the room.
I could also be that, but like, compared to what I expected this podcast to go like,
Yeah, I was expecting we were going to go real negative on this, but yeah, it's going to be a lot more positive than I expected, at least.
there's definitely complaints. But yeah,
Well, it's so positive that I will say right now that I accidentally have 2 pre-orders on a Nintendo Switch too, so I've got to fix that.
Accidentally, one for your eBay store.
No, it's because I found out that it's literally $1 cheaper at JB Hi-Fi, so now I'm trying to rectify that. That's how much. That's how petty of a man I am.
I thought you were getting ready for
95 cents away from
DS design. You were just having a second one ready for that.
No.
So-
I'll go to great lengths to take away 95 cents from EB Games if I can.
So I was gonna say before we should edit in like a bit of like the pre-podcast thing at the end of the vodcast, like some random stupid thing someone says,
Oh, yeah.
and this is it.
Oh,
This is the one.
Oh no.